Almost all the members of this panel are accepting, including yourself, are accepting millions of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry.
Oh, no,
and protecting their interests.
Oh, I thought that would come. No. I ran for president like you. I got millions and millions of contributions. They did not come from the executives. They did not come from the executives. They did not come from the executives. They did not come from the executives.
1.5 million.
Yeah, out of 200 million. All right, but you have not answered. Last question.
Wow.
Whoa.
That was harsh. That was kind of harsh.
Well, it's nice to see somebody get called out directly.
For a onesie. I'd like to see him wear that little onesie.
Oh, God. I think Barnes had a meme going around of Bernie Sanders in a onesie.
Really? It makes sense. It makes total sense. I mean, that's what you want to see. I don't know, Eric. I watched all the hearings, and some of them were very tense. People yelling. I don't know why they're yelling. Like, you know, this woman who is from Massachusetts, the great senator of the great state of Massachusetts, screaming at him, Elizabeth Warren, defending the pharmaceutical industry, demanding that he not sue them ever again. You know, 4 years after he's gone, she randomly picks a number.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
No, come on, Eric, come on. That's what they told her. I mean, it made no sense whatsoever. It was completely random, 4 years. And he says, of course, I'm not going to take any money from the pharmaceutical industry while I am here, unlike your precedent, the predecessor of mine, who probably took tons of money. Why even bring this up? And then on top of that, Eric, an additional 4 years just for the hell of it.
Which makes no sense. But no, he said, well, it was two parts, because she said, will you not work for a pharmaceutical company for 4 years? He's like, yeah, of course not. Definitely not. But will you not sue them? You see, that was the weird part. Now, his not working for a pharmaceutical company makes total sense, because that would be a problem. But not to sue him, he can't stand up for citizens.
Well, they're two opposite things. One point she's saying, will you work for them? The second part was, will you sue them? Like, what does that have to do with either one of those two things?
I don't know. She thinks she's clever. That's what I always love, is that that, and I always forget the dummy from Hawaii's name.
Misono or Misono.
Yeah.
Holy crap. She doesn't even pick up her head. She just has these talking points that have to start off with, have you ever aped or graped a woman or been involved in sexual assault? Like, what are you reading here? What are you in the same hearing?
Yeah. And then what was it? She was doing one, and she had this uptick, like, okay, like, you're not answering my questions.
I'll take that as a no. You want to be that way? Two of us could play that way.
Well, okay. Well, this is nice. Your friend Dr. Drew sent this out. The top 20 member recipients of money from pharmaceuticals from 1990 to 2024.
Oh, interesting.
So, Kamala Harris, 11 million. Joe Biden, 9 million. Barack Obama, 6 million. Hillary Clinton, 4 million. Romney, 3 million. Orrin Hatch, 2 million. Usho, 2.25. McCarthy, 2.2. Pallone, Casey, McDonald, Bernie Sanders.
Wow.
Brett Guthrie, Fred Upton.
Hey, look who's on there. Goldbrick, Robert Menendez.
Look at this.
He ain't got no more. Look at Menendez.
Warnock just got in there, dude. In 2020, he's already.
Let me ask you something.
1.7 million.
You're an incumbent. You're an incumbent senator. Why do you need any money to run again?
Mm-hmm.
Now think about what you have to do as an incumbent who has to beat you. You know what I mean? It's very little. Some of them run unopposed. That's how easy it is to be an incumbent.
Yeah, like AOC. I mean, she has more money than
but even more in the Senate. Even more in the Senate, because you have to put together a massive war chest to defeat an incumbent. If he's up for re-election, or he's not termed out, but he's going to retire. Okay, it's an open seat. It's every man for himself. But how much does Chuck Schumer need to retake his seat You know what I mean? In
Sure.
Brooklyn or in the Senate, it's just astounding what pigs they are.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I mean, well, Mark, that's probably his retirement money you're talking about.
Right. I mean, this money is to own them. This is not for campaign. It says campaign contributions on it, but it's really the money that shows that we own you,
Mm-hmm.
in my
I
humble
agree.
opinion.
I agree now. You know, fortunately, Bobby does have friends, and I thought this was a very interesting clip.
Oh, yes. Yes,
So
baby.
this hasn't been widely reported, but in 2020, I cut large checks to Chuck Schumer to help Democrats flip 2 Senate seats in Georgia.
There's the answer to my question.
The 2 candidates I helped elect, Senator Raphael Warnock and Senator John Ossoff.
Thank you.
Please know I will be watching your votes very closely. I will make it my personal mission that you lose your seats in the Senate if you vote against the future health of America's children. And more than that, I also want to say to Senators Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, Bill Cassidy, Tom Tillis, James Lankford, Cory Booker, John Fetterman, Bernie Sanders, and Catherine Cortez Masto. This is a bipartisan message, and it comes directly from me. While Bobby may be willing to play nice, I won't. If you vote against him, I will personally fund challengers to primary you in your next election, and I will enlist hundreds of thousands to join me. Big Pharma and Big Ag have exploited us for far too long. It ends now. You're either on the side of transparency and accountability, or you are standing in the way. The choice is yours. Please choose wisely.
Oh.
So
you know, she just got here 5 minutes ago, but she's the one who put these people in office. What if she changes her mind and goes back the other way in 5 minutes?
I agree. Well, I like her for now. I like her ads that she was doing for Trump.
Yeah,
she did do some good work there. You know, again, I mean,
she put these people there. First of all, she's never worked a day in her life, as everyone knows. She married the Russian Jewish Google guy, somehow got divorced immediately, and ended up with $2 billion. So I got to watch this person with a hawk eye, because I don't trust her as far as I could see her. Did she help us the last 5 months of her life? Yeah. But she's got a long past and a long future. You know, I hope the threat goes through, and I hope it is sincere. But there are people on our side, you know, who have been there. Our side. I just got here 5 minutes ago, but I'm not
exactly. I chose not to say anything.
No, you could say it. No, you could say it. But I mean, would she be there, and will she be there? And I put this out there to you and to the audience: if RFK Jr. does not get confirmed, where does RFK Jr. go if Bill Cassidy becomes the 4th Republican to vote against him tonight in the confirmation vote behind closed doors? What does he do with his career? Where does he go? Will he be embittered that he put it all out there for Trump, and then he loses the confirmation vote?
I don't know.
This is a provocative show. So, I mean, everybody's talking about the same booba-mices. I'm going to the next level, Hunley.
Mm-hmm. I have no idea where he's going to go. I mean,
right.
He'll probably just go back to suing people.
Right, exactly.
You know, he's got the children's health defense. I'm sure there's a warm seat for him. He'll walk right back in there and sue away. Hopefully he could technically, I guess, run for governor of California, which is what
that's why I was hinting at this entire thing, you know, because this thing here is out of control now with the fires, and them insisting that they're going to put in low-income housing now into the Palisades, as I predicted a couple of weeks ago on this show. The people have fled, the people whose homes in the Palisades. They've moved to Newport Beach. Their kids are enrolled in school. Over 350 kids from the Palisades are now in Orange County, in Trump country, in the spotless, perfect environment called Newport Beach. They've enrolled their kids in school. They're not going to go back. They're not going to pull their kids out of school in 2.5 to 3 years. They have made a life for themselves in 5 minutes. Now, the Altadena fire, on the other hand, which has a lot of working class and Black working class homeowners, those people are in shelters, and they're in hotels waiting for their homes to be rebuilt. I don't think they're going to be rebuilt either. I think they're going to build garden apartments and low-income housing there, and offer them a deal to get into one of these apartments. this is going to be very interesting. Nothing Trump said seemed to have made a dent in Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom. She immediately deferred to her health czar in LA County, that's Barbara Ferrer, the phony doctor, and immediately put out statements that low-income housing is coming to the Pacific Palisades, which leads many conspiracy theorists, like in Lahaina, in Maui, to believe it was intentional or intentionally allowed to occur, Eric. This seems to be a different type of conspiracy theory where it allows things to happen by omission, Eric. You know what I mean? By not cleaning the brush, by having 100 fire trucks in the repair shop, by cutting the fire budget, by giving it to the homeless NGOs, that bottomless pit of money here in LA County and LA City. They allowed this event to happen. Now you look at Lahaina in Maui, and you see after coming up on 2 years, it'll be 2 years, I think, in August, what has happened there? Because that's their ecological twin sister. That's the one that they're eco-friendly with. That's the one that they modeled their eco world after, is incredibly blue Hawaii, which is another Marxist state of the United States, and Maui being their LA, if you want to put it that way. They lost 10% of the homes that were lost here. In other words, 18,000 structures here burned to the ground. In Lahaina, it was 1,800. Coming up on 2 years, there have been authorized 36 building permits and 3 homes have been completed. Let me repeat that. 1,800 homes burned to the ground, 36 building permits have been approved, and 3 homes have been completed in Lahaina. That's their model for here. That's why I'm mentioning this. They are completely ignoring the federal government at this point. They had a huge concert here last night with every rock act in the world, including the Chili Peppers, who really killed it last night. Rod Stewart, everybody was in this thing last night to raise money. I don't know where the money's going to go because there's so much wiggle room for fraud out here. Trump ostensibly put Rick Grenell in charge, but Rick Grenell is down in Venezuela with Maduro, dealing with stuff that he's supposed to deal with. I don't know how the federal government is supposed to deal with this here. If they allow money to flow into this bottomless pit, it's going to disappear into the bottomless pit. She has now brought on a private developer to come up with plans for Pacific Palisades, shockingly.
Wow.
The model they're using is actually in St. Thomas. There's a picture I sent you, I don't know if you still have it, of what St. Thomas turned into after, it must have been a hurricane, I'm assuming at St. Thomas, it was a hurricane destruction. They built low-income housing on the beach, which is everything in St. Thomas, and they're kind of using that as a model for here, among the model also of Maui, but the actual model of building stuff, there's a photo from St. Thomas that I found, and also a little story about how St. Thomas is dealing with their hurricane wrecks of their homes. But nevertheless, the point of the matter is, I don't know how you can have the Olympics and all these other events here, World Cup and the other events here at a city that is functioning at half mast and half speed.
I'm not sure. Maybe he can pull it away. Before I go any further, though, I have good news on our front. We actually this week have a sponsor.
What?
Yes, a company is taking a chance.
Oh, come on. That's insane.
Joe Rogan's known for his fitness and quick recovery. Remember, he bounced back from COVID in just a few days.
Unbelievable!
One supplement he swears by is NMN. Instead of me explaining it, here's the doctor who discovered it.
What is NMN?
Good question. So let me take a quick step back.
Sure.
So about 20 years ago, Lenny Guarente and a team of us at MIT discovered a set of genes that controls aging in yeast cells, just brewer's yeast, what you find in beer and bread. And those genes are called sirtuins, and there are 7 of them in our bodies, 5 in yeast. And what they do is they protect all organisms on the planet, plants, bacteria, humans, from deterioration and disease. They're like the Pentagon. They sense when we're hungry, sense when we're exercising, and they send out the troops to defend us. So when you put more of these genes into a yeast cell or a mouse, they'll live longer, between 5 to 20% longer. And so we think that these genes are responsible for the effects of dieting and exercise, which is great. What that means is we can now mimic that with molecules. So NMN is one of those molecules, so is resveratrol.
NMN boosts energy, endurance, strength, and anti-aging. For me, it's improved my skin. Many users report better health, more energy, and sharper focus. As men, we need to stay strong and take care of ourselves. No one else will. Check out Black Forest Supplements, NMN. It kickstarts NAD plus production, restoring abilities you had at 16, but lost over time. Pair it with resveratrol for even better results. Links are below. Try it, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Whoa. I'm going to run this up Dr. Drew's flagpole and see what he says.
You know what? There is a lot of stuff on it that's fascinating. The FDA actually sued them to not have the product because they wanted to run it through clinical trials and make it a prescription-based product.
Oh, I see what their game is.
So there is some, actual studies out there from Harvard and everything else.
Wow.
Very, very interesting how the FDA did that. Now things have gotten shaken out with the change of administration and obviously a potential change with the FDA.
Did you know that melatonin is prescription all around the world except here?
Really?
I didn't know that. Only here. And it's gone up 700% in usage in the past 2 years. Yeah, I'm just mentioning it because of this thing. I mean, and also with like all these things, like, RFK Jr. is talking about Fruit Loops and red dye number 5 and red dye number 7, and like the whole world doesn't do it, but we do. And, there are things in Europe, the reverse is true too, where it is prescription only for them over there. And the reverse, it's over the counter here. And some of these are prescription here and over the counter there. So it does vary nation by nation, but apparently he's putting tariffs on the European Union tomorrow, Eric, according to the press conference he had this afternoon in his Oval Office.
Well, yeah, I believe that plus 10% to China, 25% to Mexico, 25% to Canada. Somebody is pointing out is very interesting because you've got Canada who's really worried about this, and then you have Mexico who's kind of playing chicken, and they're like, Mexico is
kind of daring him. Yeah.
So I'm like, wow. Okay.
Wow.
If anybody's going to be daring them, I don't know. It'll be Mexico.
Right. What are they? They're going to be waving a sword around, like threatening him. I don't understand their game. What's their end game?
I don't know.
You could cut off all the chimichangas you want, but we're still going to survive as a nation. With isn't cut off guacamole at the source? I mean, we'll never survive that here.
Well, half of Mexican food is actually Tex-Mex invented here.
Right.
Like chimichangas, I think was invented in Tucson, Arizona.
Right.
We don't even eat a lot of actual Mexican food.
Right. Okay. Well, I was in that restaurant though. That was Nixon's chef's restaurant down in San Clemente. I never saw more memorabilia to Nixon in my entire life. Olmadera, I forget the guy's name, Olmavita or something, but he had that he was Mexican for sure. That guy came from Mexico, ended up being Nixon's chef.
Wow, that works. But let's go and talk a little bit more about the confirmations because we, started in that. So I've got there's somebody put together a nice video.
Looks like a Hitler salute there. What's going on, Bernie?
Yeah. Oh shoot! Not just Elon. Yeah.
Wow.
Good catch.
Million.
General statement and a mischaracterization of what I said. I encourage you to read the rest of the interview. This is why snippets of information are often misleading and detrimental to this committee's advice and consent process.
If you consent, I would love to have 5 hours of questions and then I could read the whole transcript.
You've got 2 minutes.
Wow.
That was funny. That was funny.
Yes, it was.
He had a couple of good quips.
Yeah, he definitely is not playing. And let's see, we have.
My concern has to do with the tendency to repeat Russian and Syrian, and even in some cases, I think we'll get into in the closed session, Iranian information. and to discount what comes from our intelligence community.
Senator, every American deserves to know that people in our own government were providing support to our sworn enemy, Al-Qaeda. That should not be acceptable by anyone.
Thank you.
Before I close, I want to warn the American people who are watching at home. You may hear lies and smears in this hearing that'll challenge my loyalty to and my love for our country. Those who oppose my nomination imply that I am loyal to something or someone other than God, my own conscience, and the Constitution of the United States. Accusing me of being Trump's puppet, Putin's puppet, Assad's puppet, a guru's puppet, Modi's puppet, not recognizing the absurdity of simultaneously being the puppet of 5 different puppet masters.
It's a juggling act.
The same tactic was used against President Trump and failed. The American people elected President Trump with a decisive victory and mandate for change. The fact is, what truly unsettles my political opponents is I refuse to be their puppet.
It's good to see the Rock's brother sitting in back of her, by the way. I don't know. There are cats in the background. There's 2 guys with Hawaiian leis on their neck who were sitting through the whole hearings. I don't know what they were doing there. There were girls on the committee, staffers, who were just chewing gum the entire time. And I couldn't take my eyes off it. They're just chewing gum. And look, it just looked so unprofessional. That's all I could say, that they're just chewing gum. And somehow you could read the eyes of these people who were in back of them when the sparks were flying. You could see their eyes starting to bug out of their heads. I mean, it was very entertaining and tense, especially this one.
I want you to turn around. There are Capitol Police officers behind you. They're guarding us. Take a look at them right now. Turn around.
I'm looking at you. You're talking to me.
No, look at them. I want you to look at them if you can, if you have the courage to look them in the eye, Mr. Patel, and tell them you're proud of what you did. Tell them you're proud that you raised money off of people that assaulted their colleagues, that pepper sprayed them, that beat them with poles. Tell them you're proud of what you did, Mr. Patel. They're right there. They're guarding you today. Tell them how proud you are.
That's an abject lie, and you know it. I've never, ever accepted violence against law enforcement. I've worked with these men and women, as you know,
you
my entire
glorified
life,
it in song,
and I did not make a single dime out of it.
In song. Well, let me.
How about you ask them if I have their backs, and let's see about that answer.
Let me ask you this.
It was harsh, man. There was a lot of harsh things going on. I mean, I guess the word contentious is applicable here. You know,
well, these are the 3, and that's, we're bringing them up. The 3 most important too.
These 3 could go either way, and to pick them, as they used to say in the NFL. What's going to happen is going to happen behind closed doors over the next few days and nights after that, public dog and pony show. It's all going to happen. I mean, you've got 3 Republicans, possibly 4 with Cassidy against RFK Jr. She's threatening Cassidy. I think Cassidy's a doctor, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Cassidy is a hard one because I think he actually believes in what he's saying. It's like I
don't know. I don't know who believes what anymore. But the reality of the show that they put on yesterday is the Democrats inflicted wounds on these people that may not be repairable. That exchange, Adam Schiff, and I again, was the most effective weapon against Kash Patel. He absolutely destroyed him, in my humble opinion, with this. I didn't know anything about this choir that he put an album out of, these J6 choir singers that he produced, bragged about it. They had every quote from Kash Patel on every podcast he ever made, some of them quite crazy quotes, and he had no answers for it. My beef with all 3 of them is when confronted with the truth, they cowardly back down. The only one who put up a slight fight was the Snowden exchange with Tulsi Gabbard, who they kept saying was a traitor, and they would not defend their own beliefs. And it was hard to watch them cringe away from stuff they said, denying they said it. They didn't know where the context of that was. And instead of embracing it and saying, go fuck yourself, I said it, I'm proud of my defense of the J6ers, I'm proud of my defense of whistleblowers. I'm proud of my attacks on Big Pharma. They all seem to be on the defensive. And I know the game. The game is to yes them to death, to get the nomination, to get to get the job. I get the game.
What do you want? I mean, I was gonna say, you say, oh, go fuck yourself, and then they're out, then they're gone. So Trump goes to find somebody else who they agree with more. Is that a
could happen anyway? Now they were wounded so badly that I think all three of them could go down as easily as all three of them could be approved. There was mortal wounds inflicted yesterday on all three of these candidates that may not be reparable, in my humble opinion. When you've got four Republicans, 3.5 already announcing they're going to go against RFK. I don't know about the other two because they're kind of murky as to which way they're going to blow. These things should not even be contested. I mean, these events, when a president in his own party picks these people, these should not even be news events. And if you look at the other ones that are not news events, you'll see what normally would transpire. This is if these three go down, plus Matt Gaetz is 4, Hegseth got by a backroom deal with Tillis, according to my sources, at the 11th hour. Who knows what they gave Tillis? And then, of course, the vote of J.D. Vance to break the tie. This may happen with all three of these now, the same kind of thing, to get them in. But I would have appreciated that they were more forceful in their own beliefs and defending their own ideas on television, face to face, and not have backed down as much as they did, generally speaking.
I don't know. I guess I'm being a realist. If they said absolutely, boom, they're gone. I mean, if she went and said, "Oh yeah, no, Snowden's not a traitor," she's gone. She's not in. Period. And what do you want? Do you want to be? You complain all the time about the Republicans not fighting, not doing this, or not doing what they have to win. But then now you're saying, "Oh, just go ahead and destroy yourself and destroy."
No,
your
I don't think it's
to not
destroying
get
itself.
in.
I think their lack of aggression and the attacks that were put against them by the Democrats is going to influence cowardly Republicans on those committees to not defend them. I'm using the reverse psychology. I believe that their lack of defending aggressively their statements that they've made is going to make the other Republicans cower in their own feces.
All right. Well, pushing back, Kash Patel, from what I understand, the betting markets and everything else, he's about 95% chance he's going to.
Of course, I'm rooting for him to get in there, but I mean,
he's looking solid. Bobby, it's hinging on Cassidy.
Yeah,
but there are other wild cards.
What about Tulsi, do you think?
Tulsi is the one who is the most at risk, and Cornyn just flipped this morning, so that was huge. Having Cornyn, a mainline Republican guy, flipping really did help her in that regard. So I'm not going to count her out, but hers is going to be real. I think she's going to be like Hegseth at best, and it is precarious. Bobby, I think, has a shot. I keep wondering if the Rhode Island senator is like a really close friend of his personally, so he could pick up a Democrat or two, and that could swing it. Susan Collins apparently was pretty nice to him, surprisingly, and she may go for him. It's not a rule that Murkowski, Collins, and McConnell always vote against everybody. It's possible that they could support Bobby. He's a wild card in that regard. Duffy got through, and then started to have to do his job the same damn day, practically. I mean, wow, that's horrible. But I don't know. I really think they had to do what they had to do to try to get confirmed. From what I understand, there are phone calls being made, etc., in the background.
You think?
Yeah, well, hopefully. I mean, it's
the whole thing is behind the scenes, basically. I mean, you got the public show, you've got the office visits during the week, and then like they were referring to things they said privately. Then you've got to be off the record, behind the scenes security ones, and then you've got this now. This is the final stage behind the scenes. What
irritates me about it all is, like, McConnell voted for every freak show damn near that Biden put in.
Yeah.
The Republicans are like, you're the president. Okay, whatever. As long as, well, I was going to say that as long as they're incompetent, but Pete Buttigieg got in. So obviously that doesn't even count. Freak shows got in. Trump won the election. Unless there's something egregiously wrong, they really should all have a majority. They really should. I feel like everybody should be getting in with 70 to 80 votes.
I agree, but that's not what's
realistic
happening.
about this.
Because this is not Democrat or Republican anymore. These are MAGA people. This is a third party.
Mm-hmm.
That's why both parties are going after these people, because they're MAGA. That's the whole game here. Now, when they start backtracking from MAGA, I get nervous. It makes me nervous. It makes me very uncomfortable. I mean, I want to ram this down their throats. I want to force this MAGA ideology and philosophy down their throats. If they quote something from Kash Patel, who you say is a 95% of success, good. Let him say, I did say that on Steve Bannon's show. Instead of, I don't recall saying that, or you're misquoting me, or whatever it is, embrace it. Embrace it. Just be very polite about it and go at it and say, this is MAGA as fuck, and we're not going to listen to you anymore. It's just my take on it. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat anymore. I'm just full on MAGA. And I would like to see the more embracement of that movement than playing this Democrat-Republican game all the time.
True. Well, by the way, Fetterman, I could almost see voting for Bobby.
Where? Oh, he's not on that committee. Right?
No, it's got to go to the main floor.
Yeah, right.
This is to get out of.
There were a lot of empty seats there yesterday. I guess they were voting on different things. They seem to be coming and going. As I said, Schiff was the most damaging to, not that if it doesn't matter if he gets in, it doesn't really matter, but just as a fundraising piece of film, Schiff versus Patel was very interesting.
Interesting. I didn't see all of it, but
I watched all of it, and he destroyed Patel. I watched it all. He was very effective. There's a reason he's Adam Schiff. All the mockery and everything else, there's a reason that he is who he is. He's extremely effective at this type of warfare. And you remember when he was on the committee.
I mean, he's like freaking. He reminds me of Kevin Spacey in House of Cards. I mean,
yeah.
His slithering.
Yes.
But
he's good. He's good at that game, that parliamentary game they play up there. He's very good at it. Very good.
All right, let me get some super chats. I'm going to try to do it through the show while we're going. Fletcher Boy said, why does RFK Jr., Tulsi, and Cash upset the DC establishment?
MAGA.
So yeah, they're the
That's they're MAGA. They're not part of either party.
And Hexeth as well, who, by the way, did go in there.
Gates as well. By the way, did you see Gates on with Bill Maher?
Yes.
That was uncomfortable.
Very interesting show.
How bizarre was that? I mean, what was Matt Gaetz doing there? I mean, Bill Maher, the second he sat down, there was a fight.
There was, but then they settled in and saying, yeah, we both love hoes.
Yeah.
Essentially. I know. There was like two frat boys bonding. I'm just like,
right. Yeah, and then Bill was getting drunker and higher as the show goes on, which is traditional for that particular Club Random episode. But he innocuously came, just so people didn't see it, he innocuously came out, Matt Gaetz, and said, I was a big fan of Politically Incorrect. I love that show. It was such an innocuous claim. He said, Bill, I love the old show. I loved it a lot. And, I may like it even more than the current show. And Bill Maher goes, how dare you? How dare you? He goes, what? He goes, you're saying that it's something I did 20 years ago was better than what I'm doing? And first he thought he was kidding. But Bill Maher was not kidding. He was legitimately outraged. He wasn't even sitting in the chair yet, Matt Gaetz, and they were fighting.
That's great.
Holy crap, was that weird.
Yeah, it was. Oil and water, we watched.
Oil
Dr.
and water.
Evers said, question for Elizabeth Warren. Did you take your medication today?
Yeah, she was, and I hate to use this parody phrase, off the reservation yesterday.
Yeah. Jack White, Warren was always a fraud. She worked on behalf of big business, crushing smaller competitors before she became a senator. Yeah, these guys are all frauds. I mean,
they're all frauds, bro. I mean, we all know that. The question is, how do you take over and implement MAGA policies to give Trump the maneuverability to do what he intends to do. The first week has been brilliant. He just mowed everyone down. It was one policy after another. He was like Machine Gun Kelly, coming at them, and they were backtracking on every single thing. Now, the plane crash, obviously you can't really, keep things going when there's a tragedy like this.
That, and I mean, I'm curious your thoughts on his immediately going out, saying, hey, it's their fault, DEI, blah, 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 when the investigation isn't even finished yet. I feel like he gave talking points and allowed the media to change the conversation to, oh, here he is, mean Trump again, versus, actual policy decisions. I'm not saying he's wrong. There's some real questions here. Like, apparently the air traffic control was understaffed. They let somebody go home early, and another person was having to watch both helicopters and planes at the same time.
Right.
Unusual setup. And this is reported in the New York Times, not exactly
of all places.
Yeah, they're not in favor of, whatever Trump is doing. And then I'm very concerned about the lack of release on the third soldier. Now, I understand if you don't want to release victim names because
they have
families
now.
haven't been,
They have.
but they did. They released every single name except for one. And it is I believe the pilot, I believe it's a female. There was a rumor going around that it was a trans individual. It was not. That trans individual has come out personally and said, no.
Maybe it's somebody else who was trans.
I don't know what it is, but
it's not that person. It's not that particular person, though.
Correct.
Right. Joy Loft or whatever her name was.
Right.
Jody. Yeah.
Loftus, right. I think. Joe Loftus.
Yeah.
My issue is this. If you don't release the names, you're stirring the pot. You're getting people like me to go, what's going on? Why is there one name not mentioned?
Well, Trump could release it. Trump could release it.
He could. I don't know why they're not. If the family's been notified, release the name. It's not.
I don't know. I don't begrudge him. This is an opportunity for him to drive a stake into the heart of the DEI vampire. When you look at the FAA requests for employees, which we talked about just the other day. Remember, I sent you that list. They were looking for people who were literally blind, didn't have arms, psychologically damaged people. They turned down 3,000 able-bodied white American people who could have worked at the FAA. They're now suing them, like 200 or 300 of them in a class action suit against the FAA for not hiring them for reverse racism reasons. Their list of people they were looking for and their disabilities were insane, Eric. It was insane.
I want to point this out.
Yeah.
Somebody's going after me. It was the parents that made that decision. I don't think it's up to the parents.
Yeah, I wouldn't want my parents thinking that. Yeah.
There are over 60 victims and 60 families that are affected by this situation. I think there is a right to know.
Yeah, there is a right to know, and we will get to know it. There will be a physical investigation because they've recovered the black boxes and everything else. I mean, but there are so many issues revolving around this thing, and adding on the factor that Trump knows more than all of us of inside information. The DEI thing, I think he is using real information to deal with a real policy that he's really opposed to and he's really getting rid of. So does it behoove Trump to wait 2 weeks to say what he said, or does Trump wait like he usually does 2 minutes?
Yeah,
it is what it is.
I can see. Well, he's Trump, and he's going to do what he's going to do.
Yeah.
He already has leaked out a little information. He sent a truth earlier today saying the helicopter is 200 feet above air. Above
he said that just now. I just watched his presser now. He said the same thing. It was about 400 feet up, right?
Which is well, he said 200 in the truth, I think, but whatever. That's still a pretty damn big margin there, especially in a tight corridor. I talked to our pilot friend, and he said that he's thankful that he never flies in there. That the place is a disaster.
It's a disaster anyway. Yeah.
So,
well, look, I mean, maybe change can come to this from this tragedy of a crazy place with, I mean, the fact that the military is right there doing stuff on top of Ronald Reagan Airport's ass is insane, Eric. Like, what are they doing there?
Yeah, and the expectancy of it too. Like, understand that there's training, but then my question is, unless it's specific training that has to be related to the White House, DC, or whatever,
Yeah,
why can't it be down in Langley? Why
could be
can't it
any-
be,
right.
shifted around? That makes more sense. I understand about the airport having the planes. That's obvious. There's a lot going in there.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the flight pattern, it looks like the helicopter is coming right around the bend there on the Potomac and slams right into the plane as it comes around the corner there on that bend in the river, and it's flying right down the river into the airline that's landing, right there.
Yeah, the theory that I heard that kind of makes a lot of sense is when the air traffic controller said, "Do you see the plane?"
Oh yeah, I heard about
They
that, yeah.
said yes, but they think they were looking at the other plane because there was like another regional jet like in range, and they don't think they even saw it. And I mean, that would make sense.
One of the requirements they were looking for was speech impaired people to be air traffic controllers. Speech impairment. I mean, the list is insane. And it's all numbered. Like it's just crazy, and they couldn't find any of these people. So that's why there was one air traffic controller last night instead of two when the accident happened, because they're understaffed, and these guys, it's a stressful job. And they refuse to hire thousands and thousands, apparently, of able-bodied people in the hope of finding an air traffic controller with no arms who was deaf. And that's hard to find.
Well, obviously, I mean, the whole DEI thing is just bonkers, as you well know, and it's only getting worse. There are people right now, because the airlines are doing it. It's not just the FAA.
Yeah.
The airlines themselves.
Yeah.
There are some people who deliberately go walking by and look in the cockpit.
Yeah.
Before they,
yeah, I mean,
taking a plane.
Right.
I don't know what's going on, but
I mean, do you want a brain surgeon working on you who graduated 499th out of 500 in his medical school, or do you want a guy in the top 10%? Your choice. Your choice. Yeah, I mean, it's your brain, it's your surgery. Yeah, I'm going to take a shot on that guy, the last guy, 499. That's the guy I want to give him a shot at working on people's brains.
Yeah, and same thing with pilots. I mean,
of course,
anybody?
Of course.
There are certain things that's like, yeah, if you're talking about the human resources department, okay,
yeah,
maybe it's not that critical. If you're talking about the sanitation workers or janitorial staff, or what, there are jobs that are less critical.
Well, I'll tell you right now, the DNI acting director that we mentioned last week, to get back to the JFK files, she was an engineer, a STEM affirmative action graduate engineer, Eric, from a school in Georgia, and went to the CIA as an engineer, and then ends up being director of DNI. That's who would have, or will have to, unless Tulsi Gabbard gets in there in 7 more days, will have to provide a plan for Trump for the JFK files. And now you've got Jefferson Morley. I don't know if you saw this show with Tucker the other day.
I saw that he was on with Tucker, and I thought, oh, well, it's a deep state homecoming.
Yeah, deep state homecoming. So they're going down the list of things, and there's timestamp. And at the end, they both agreed that obviously JFK was assassinated by the Israelis. I watched the entire. Oh no, you didn't get the.
I mean, whatever.
You didn't get the end of the show.
But that's the new. Yeah, Alex Jones is headed that way. Roger Stone's got it that way, and Oliver Stone has been
right.
Of
course, you could kill 2 birds with 1 stone if you blame them. Now you could get Israel and the JFK files reopened. You get 2 things, because they wanted to open a nuclear power plant. And he was opposed to the proliferation of nuclear power at the time. So they killed him. That makes sense. What else could it have been?
Wasn't it already resolved before he died anyway?
Yes.
So
yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, can you explain it? Because then people can get a sound bite out of this, clip it or whatever. What exactly went down with the JFK and Israel and the nuclear power plant?
what Morley is talking about is documents that are in the files related to that are redacted. He wants them unredacted. This is what I was trying to tell you and the audience, that the things that are on the bottom of the JFK barrel are international in scope. Israel, Mexico, Australia, things involving their foreign policy. This being another one about the Israeli nuclear plant that they were trying to open and eventually did. And JFK not being completely on board originally with that. And there's a document from Arthur Schlesinger that they were referring to in the show that's heavily redacted. Morley and Tucker, because the document is redacted, indicate that obviously the Israelis killed Kennedy. And it's just, it's so disingenuous. It's such weak sauce that, they are now talking about, we talked about this last week, Stephen Cohn, Schweikert, and Tim Kirchett is the guy's name from Tennessee, the congressman. Burchett. I can never remember this guy's name. It's like Burchett,
Cohen, Schweikert, and Burchett.
Yeah, try saying that law firm a few times. Cohen, Schweikert, and Burchett. Schweikert is an odd guy, kind of a mainstream Republican from deep state Arizona, Eric. You see that guy there, Schweikert? He was a guy who came late to the game to Trump. Stephen Cohen has Trump derangement syndrome. And then the last guy is a pretty good guy, Republican from Tennessee also. So you got two guys from Tennessee and one from Arizona who've written a letter out of the blue that they want to be in charge of going through the files. And now certain members like Oliver Stone and Morley are trying to get onto the bandwagon with these three politicians, that they would be the ones to vet the release of documents, when what we all want is them to simply be released like they have been on the National Archives website, so anybody can download them and view them. I don't need these three politicians to be a buffer for me between myself and those documents. I'm not signing on to this. People have asked me, they sent me some emails about joining a Zoom meeting with these guys to try to get them in there to expedite matters.
Why? Yeah,
I know. I don't want Steve Cohen. I don't want Steve Cohen trying to pluck out LBJ information to save the Democratic Party's ass, talking about when LBJ is talking about covering up different things. I don't need Steve Cohen to do that for me. I'd like to see those documents. And some of these are at Justice Department, which we talked about last week, especially the MLK ones. And there's people in the MLK community who are already contacting Trump, telling him not to release the MLK ones because they're embarrassing. Well, boo fucking who? You want transparency or you don't want transparency? Let the chips fall where they may. I mean, unredact everything. Let the people see it.
Well, and I just don't get it. Well, I don't want the bottleneck of three people.
Right.
And my thought is this: that's only three people. If you just release them all, you will have hundreds of JFK researchers who are all simultaneously going and looking. Now, what is going to reveal the truth faster? Hundreds of people looking, or three people that are going and filtering every piece of data? Come on.
Right. I mean, we have files up until 2023 that people could go through at their leisure all over the world. If you go to the National Archives website, you'll see them there right on the front page, and you're welcome to do it. I do it all the time and go through it and compare notes. A lot of them are newer versions of older documents that have been unredacted. Right. So you'll see things that you didn't see 11 years ago. It's a complicated game, but it's like there are people who just live their whole lives doing this very well. I don't think that Stephen Cohen and his staff are really the ones who are going to do this for me. Their knowledge on JFK is minimal at best. That being said, Trump is going to get a plan from somebody at from Defense Intelligence, and also from the Justice Department. He's going to get a plan from them, and there's going to be a way to do this. I don't think it's rocket science at this point.
I don't either. And I I find it interesting that everybody is, shifting around and positioning.
Oh yeah, they're
themselves
getting
for this-
nervous. Yeah, they're looking for ways because they know the clock is about to strike midnight, and 60 some odd years is just not enough shuffling for them. And they've run out of ideas, to be honest with you, because they didn't see the Trump 2.0 coming in and trying this again. They thought they headed this off at the pass with Mike Pompeo. Whatever, Trump was shown back then, he feels he was duped, and now he wants to release everything. There was a federal judge in 1977, 78 who sealed up the audio tapes on Martin Luther King. Now, he was at the Willard Hotel. He was doing some things there that maybe he's not proud of. The audio tapes were part of a wiretap by J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI, so it might have been a little bit earlier, like 68, before he was killed, 67, 68. The judge sealed it later. But the reality of it is that was signed by the Attorney General of the United States. Those wiretaps were not willy-nilly. They were not CIA wiretaps like what happened in Watergate. These were legal at the time, signed by Robert F. Kennedy, Attorney General of the United States. I'd like to hear those tapes. The judge had absolutely no right. This was not a government employee who was having his tape sealed. This was a private citizen. The judge was way out of line, in my humble opinion, sealing these in perpetuity, Eric, just randomly at the request of the family, and I'm going like, okay, they're embarrassing. Who cares? I don't care what's on there. I'd like to hear them because they were officially wiretaps that could lead to some information about the assassination and how this guy was rolling.
Oh, it's contextual. There's another side too, that I'm seeing going on, in my opinion, and that's the grifting side. Everybody is having to get their last minute grift in because potentially their stories are going to unravel. The James Files of the world and all the every tale that has been peddled, they're trying to earhorn, in my opinion, right into this. Getting emails about, obviously Groden again about the Zapruder film that, he's been wrong for 50 years and can't change his mind.
Sure he has. Yeah.
Everything else. So we got to get that one in.
Well, same with Morley. Morley says right at the beginning, I'm not a conspiracy person. I worked for the Washington Post, which is his former employer. And he's obsessed with certain things about the CIA and releasing information about the CIA. More power to Morley. But he, believes Oswald was involved in it, and I don't. And he believes certain things that I don't agree with. And he got in as vice president of Mary Farrell Foundation. Again, they burrow into institutions, these cats. And that's how they undermine institutions. They stay around long enough, just like the Sixth Floor Museum, Eric, in Dallas. They offered Groden something like $250,000 to be the director. He turned him down. The other guy took the job and began to strip away the conspiratorial nature of the theme of the museum. That's how they do it. One of the ways they do what they do. Publishing books like Case Closed by Posner, and undermining books by others.
Bibliopsy.
Mark Lane's Rush to Judgment. They tried to come up with the phrase conspiracy theorist for Mark Lane, who, by the way, we're going to do an episode on Mark Lane after we do Marguerite Oswald at the end of the month. So you're going to find out about the history of Rush to Judgment, the first JFK book of all time. We're going to get into that, and Mark Lane writing that book and the interviews and the filming he did. Here's a guy who got off his ass, left New York, and went out into Texas and started to interview all the different people in the Warren Commission who were witnesses and some that weren't witnesses on his own. I mean, you talk about ahead of the curve. I mean, in 1964, to go out to Dallas and start interviewing people on film, Eric. I mean,
it wouldn't be cheap. I mean, but it's not like now. It's like, we just run out with our phone and go interview anybody. But no, you have to have a film crew.
He had a crew and everything. I mean,
that's a lot of money he put in.
Hopefully, we could show some of that footage. It's from the movie, the documentary Rush to Judgment, based on the book. It came out the same year. But You know, an American hero, without a doubt, one of the true American heroes, and should not be brushed aside, and especially now when his work is finally going to hopefully come to fruition with the release of these files.
All right, let me do a few more super chats in here. Preston Park X has kindly invited me to leave the platform forever. Truth and S. Dak, PJP Park JD, and the locals PJ Park. Okay.
What is that about?
Well, he's somebody. He's an attorney. I know who he's on X, and I believe our locals and whatnot. And he comments quite a lot on different posts. He's commented for years, and I guess he's giving up on X. I don't know.
Oh, he's banned or he's given up?
I'm not sure. He's kind of at odds with them, I guess.
All right.
Jack White said Chuck Schumer isn't just owned by big business; he's also owned by Pelosi. That whole thing about nuking the filibuster when it comes to judicial nominees that was being championed by Schumer was actually a Pelosi idea.
Well, keep in mind that he's a United States Senator and Senate Majority Leader. He's not owned by the Speaker of the House, just in terms of politics.
There may be some backdoor owning, like
I don't know about
donors and whatever.
Right. I don't. He's been around just as long as she has, and he's in another body of government.
True. Paul Henry. Come on, Bobby.
We'll see what happens. Paul.
Jack White said, remember, Shanigan's daughter was injured by the you-know-what, so I think she will deliver on her promise there. Yeah.
But was she injured by the vax or something?
Yeah.
Her, Nicole Shanahan?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, the question is, she put out feelers of running for governor of California, which I'd strongly endorse. It's a perfect spot for her if it would be the only one who could really contest a Harris run at this point in terms of money and politics right now.
I know, I totally agree. By the way, speaking of of Harris, I thought you might enjoy this. This is actually from KamalaHarris.com. Okay.
Okay. I saw that this morning. That's funny.
404. This page is unburdened.
You know what's amazing? Somebody should put a list together of all the things that have changed since Trump won the election. Quietly changed. People taking their pronouns down. Little things like that. These little societal things that have happened. And by the way, both of us didn't know the reason why Zuckerberg was going to Mar-a-Lago, and now we do. Now we know the reason. 25 million reasons as to why Zuckerberg went there twice. It wasn't to kiss the ring. It was to negotiate a settlement of a lawsuit by Trump against him for banning him from the platform. That was resolved to the tune of 25 million Zuckerbucks into the coffers of Donald J. Trump. So that's over with. We got that taken care of now.
Plus $1 million tip. Yeah. That was I kind of feel like the price of admission to seeing Trump was $1 million.
Oh, that was just to get in the door.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That was the price of admission. It was like
absolutely
the price per plate.
CBS 60 Minutes is settled with him now. You're going to see one after another begin to settle with him because they're afraid of discovery. They're afraid of this case going forward against the president of the United States. And this Jack Smith stuff yesterday was insane. And hopefully they will pursue these people to the gates of hell.
Yeah. Speaking of gates of hell, I don't know if you sent me this or who did, but JD Vance pointed out something about the first Islamic state with nuclear weapons. Now, technically, Pakistan has Islamic, so I don't know, but he was pointing out probably the first superpower might be England.
Oh, this is good.
Yeah. Vice President JD Vance said at the National Conservative Conference, at which I also spoke in the summer here in DC, that the UK was going to be the first Islamist nation with nuclear weapons. I don't think he was entirely joking.
No.
Is it an impossibility that 20 years from now, it will be the UK, not China or Russia, that will emerge as the greatest strategic threat to the USA, born out of a broken relationship and weak leadership? What happens if class? Vice President.
Yep. And
Yeah,
meanwhile, she's
it may not
keeping
be
us-
20 years, Hunley. It may be
Oh,
5 years.
it's already there. I mean,
Yeah.
London, I believe, is majority Muslim as a city.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, absolutely. I'm just saying, is the UK will the UK be the next Turkey? Be a member of
Yeah.
NATO, be a member of NATO, be a Muslim nation, and have access to nuclear weapons.
Yeah, and far scarier. I mean, what
Well,
everybody's
it would give us a national defense reason to deal with the UK now, a national security reason to help them.
I think,
in my
I think it's true.
opinion, yeah.
Yes. I mean, I think it's fair to say that the UK is equivalent in strength to Russia.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're second and third. They're both tied for second in arms sales around the world, UK and Russia. We're a distant first, but tied for second traditionally is Britain, UK, and Russia. Yeah, I think that we could use that cover story that she's explaining at the Heritage Foundation to help them out and stop this from happening.
Yeah, I hope that
using economic sledgehammers. I mean, you could use an economic sledgehammer to say this is not acceptable. You want investigations into these groomer gangs. You want this stuff. You want to see it resolved, or you're not getting anything. Trump knows how to do this better than anybody.
Yep, and he's got a good ally with Elon Musk, who's already driving Keir Starmer insane.
Elon Musk is the new Spiro Agnew.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Only he's on the outside. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. All right. Let me see a few more. Jack White said Razor Fist did a great video about the California fires, and he pointed out that the officials there were more interested in Trump-proofing their state than fireproofing the state. Yes.
Well, yesterday they dropped the Trump-proofing bill, which would have been millions and millions of dollars to quote unquote Trump-proof the state, realizing they were caught in yet another embarrassing leftist scandal. So that bill has been rescinded. Let me put it that way.
Well, good. This next super chat leads into another story I wanted to talk about. When is the ICE version of Cops coming?
What you gonna do when they come for you, DEI? No, I mean, it would be a great one. I mean,
absolutely.
They had a pickup in Pomona yesterday out here, and these women were outside filming them, screaming at them, and they didn't give a shit. They just threw them in the back of the car and took them away, No,
I mean, that's what they need to do. I mean,
I've got reports out of New York that Mayor Adams is about to resign in exchange for clemency from the Trump administration.
Really? I had heard that there are some negotiations about the Department of Justice just dropping the charges with prejudice.
Right, in exchange for the resignation. Yeah.
So who's going to take over, though?
I don't know.
You see, that's what bothers me, is I always want to know who's behind them.
It could be not running again. You know what I mean? Because he could walk in as a second administration, and it could be in exchange for him not to run again.
Interesting. Well, they are doing crackdowns there. Chrissy Noem, her first day at work, she was in those raids in New York.
Ice Barbie.
Yeah. I mean, she is an attractive woman, and I guess if she used the same rifle that she did with the dogs, she could be pretty tough.
Wait a minute. What are you trying to say, Hunley?
I don't know. What am I trying to say? But anyway, apparently, some of the people they picked up were really some bad people.
Bad hombres?
Yep.
Evildoers?
Evildoers, gang leaders. You've got murderers, kidnappers.
Did you see them asking the mayor of Chicago about that? How they picked up this child rapist? And he said the guy's been living in the city for 7 or 8 years. And he said, it's not my job. That's what their job is, to get these guys. I swear to God, I couldn't believe the answer to this guy's question. I mean, the reporter asked him, how could this guy have been living in Chicago for 7 years unscathed, untouched by law enforcement? He said, it's not my job. It's the job of ICE. to go
Yeah,
get
well,
them.
he has other things going on, doesn't, he's got a slush fund he's got to worry about.
Dude, what about that mayor in Illinois, the one with they had the gang fight?
Hinyard.
Oh my gosh, she's mayor of the year, mayor of the decade. She lost her wig in that fight. I mean, that was a great fight. That was Waffle House level, bro.
Dude, I'm going to be heading out there with Nate possibly in April.
To that town?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Dalton, Illinois.
Oh my God. I mean,
unless it conflicts with our event coming up in April,
right.
I'm probably going to be out there with them. But now I'm kind of going, I honestly, that was getting into some gang level stuff. And
boy, that was some fist flying there. That was crazy. That was almost as good as Oakland, where the Chinese immigrant mayor was arrested by the FBI and the DA has been forced out. They're trying to recall both simultaneously. They're both clinging to power. The mayor got a black guy as a paramour, and he's apparently the crime mastermind of the mayor's schemes in Oakland, where nobody goes out at night anymore. They have 3,000 911 calls a day and 30 cops on the beat for the entire city of Oakland. No, it's crazy. It's totally Mad Max now up there. It's just gone off the rails. Nobody goes out at night. Nobody walks around. Everybody's hunkered down. There's no police. There's no response to 911 calls. The mayor's been indicted. The DA has been indicted. It's all under Newsom's watch. Newsom will not go to Oakland because he doesn't want to be tarnished with the Oakland brush. But now gangs are coming from other cities just to rob in Oakland because they know it's not being defended. So there's kingpin guys in Oakland who run Oakland, and now they allow others to come into their territory to loot and rob for a period of time and then take their booty back to where they came from. This is in the United States, by the way.
I was just thinking, as we slow down and have fewer foreign conflicts, that could be something veterans might want to deal with.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love, because
auxiliary patrol.
Yeah, I mean, people who are trained to fight, door to door, full combat, everything else. I wouldn't mind seeing that. We've got another story out of New York. We talked about this recently. Menendez. Was crying, sobbing, and
I told you.
And now we
discussed
about the horrible Justice Department and that Trump was screwed over. I'm like, are you looking for something?
Remember I asked you how many years did you want? And I would. It was 10 to 20. He got 11. I think it's fair.
Well, and I was fine with that.
We had this discussion about Menendez, and he said it's a Cuban tradition to keep gold bars in your freezer because of Fidel Castro. It was the first place Castro looks for gold bars, by the way. And now he's groveling, I assume, for Trump to give him a pardon.
Yeah, I think he's trying to get whatever he can, because he's saying, Trump they screwed Trump over. I'm like, I'm sure you were saying that when you were in the Senate.
Right. And he was in the Senate the whole time. I mean, he never.
He just barely left last year, right?
No, he was here the whole year up until now.
Oh, I thought he did resign in like November or December.
No, he's been pretty recently voting on bills. He was not. They don't have to kick you out unless you're George Santos, Eric. The only one who gets run out is, and they showed the contrast last night of the mob hounding George Santos out of the House of Representatives, and absolutely nothing being said about Menendez.
Yeah,
nothing.
If you didn't have double standards, you wouldn't have standards at all.
Yeah, enjoy the rest of your life in federal prison because it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I don't think Trump's going to be coming through for
No, he's got. I mean, he did do Blagojevich. I mean, I think that's what the guy's looking for. He's looking for a Blagojevich move here.
But Blagojevich got screwed over by Obama.
Not only that, he served a lot of time.
Right.
This guy wants a pardon. He hasn't even gone in yet.
And from what I understand, he's guilty of this shit. So it's like, it's like you're doing the gold bars and stuff. It's like, you're just guilty, man.
Yeah. I'm sorry you got caught, bro. I'm sorry you got caught.
It sucks to be you.
Yeah.
Dogboy said, Tulsi shaved bush or runway. I'm guessing shaved. What?
I might not be appropriate for the show.
Probably not. Jim tells you Bobby and Kash have the votes. Tulsi needs one Dem vote.
Well, we don't know that. Nobody knows that. Nobody knows that. And not even the pontificators know that. The cards are being played very close to the vest.
I think I don't know who came out. It might have been Thune or somebody else, but from what I understand, Kash definitely has the votes.
We'll see. We'll see. I hope it's true.
Jack White, Mark, these nominees were not gravely wounded. The people who were wounded were the establishment figures grilling them, especially Sanders and Warren.
Not true, Jack. I watched both sides. You only saw one side. You have to watch both sides, Democrats and Republicans. There were Republicans who attacked them quite viciously, which was shocking to watch. That was shocking.
Especially.
But the Democrats were they were very, very sharp on them. Very sharp. Very effective.
David March says Tulsi gets in because they got Dems like Wyden are going to vote for her. Kash, look, if Lindsey Graham is smiling at your hearing, getting it on a straight party line vote.
I don't know about that, but it's one vote away from breaking a tie with JD Vance. There's no wiggle room here. So at the last minute, getting someone on your side through some backroom offering is quite possible, especially with Big Pharma. I mean, Big Pharma is going to be on the phones. Their worst nightmare is this guy getting in there. And then the CIA is not going to be too happy about Gabbard getting in there. And these people are going to pull every string. Everybody's looking at this like it's The Voice on NBC or something, that it's above reproach and clean. This stuff behind the scenes is going to be so dirty, so filthy, so nasty. They're going to offer anybody anything to vote against these guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
this is not The Voice, people. I mean, this is not The Apprentice.
And that's why I'm arguing that they've got to watch what they effing say, because getting in there is, a skin of the teeth situation. It's not like Marco who can, be carried in
by 99-0 vote. Yeah.
I told you that they were going to carry him out on
99-0. That should scare the shit out of everyone.
Ballpark, Senator Whitehouse, Tommy from Rhode Island is too cowardly to be the vote to put Bobby in. If there are already 50 votes in, he will vote for his old friend. He will never be the 50th vote.
Well, we don't know. I mean, who knows what 50 is in a vote? You don't know who 50 is, but they seem to vote along party lines more than the Republicans do. I'll give them that much.
Oh, Dems are a block.
Yeah.
They definitely, Schumer has got them locked
down. Oh, yeah.
And it's
I mean, even if somebody does want to cross over and vote for them with wiggle room, I don't think they'll do it. You know what I mean? Even if they have the wiggle room, I don't think they want to be seen as having voted, because their opponent will use it against them.
Sure.
Their Democratic opponent will use it against them next election.
The only way, I could see it happening if White House does it with Fetterman and another Democrat. So if there's 3 or 4 of them that cross over, then
you don't want to be the only one. You don't want to be the only one.
Yeah, that's
bad for them. That's bad.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the
White House was very
fine
harsh.
with that.
White House was very harsh. Very harsh.
Yeah, I was going to say, unfortunately, Republicans don't have that same issue. They don't mind. You've got the McCains who will be the last vote who will kill something.
Because they know there's no repercussions. There's no payback. There's nobody who's going to destroy them. There's no one who's going to slay their children. Why should they be afraid? Nothing's ever happened to Mitch McConnell. Nothing's ever happened to Lindsey Graham. They look at these two elder statesmen and they go, yeah, I want to be like them. I can do whatever I want. I can rake in cash. I'll vote anyway. If I want to go with the party, I'll go with the party. If not, I'll screw Trump. They'd much rather be that way.
Yeah, well, McConnell is pretty much invincible now. I mean, he's not running anymore. He's on his last term. And yeah, you can't threaten the guy. All you can do is punish him and pull him off committees, which I think they need to do immediately.
Okay.
And I would just use the argument that, hey, you're on your way out.
I agree. I mean, you could make the argument for Collins, as many people have, that she's in a blue area and she's a Republican voice. But when you win these states like Trump did of South Carolina and Kentucky and have these two mutts going up against you, I mean, give me a break. Give me a break.
No, I agree. Well, I feel the same way completely about that. Collins, I don't have an issue with, because it's like, I'd rather have somebody there half of the time versus a Democrat who would be none of the time.
For the record, I counted 6 different senators who had some level of Parkinson's yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, 6 shakers yesterday. And Collins was one of them. Shaking like a leaf.
Oh, God, she was probably getting up there. I mean,
Yeah.
It's like the oldest Congress in history.
Yeah.
Jack White, Mark, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we've been ruled by a uniparty for a long time. Now you need to stop thinking dim and Republican when thinking about our establishment. Think uniparty.
You telling me that? I just made a whole statement about MAGA. What are you telling me that for, Jack? I mean, the fact of the matter is, there's 2 parties involved over there who are going to rule on the MAGA candidates. I don't live in a fictional universe. I mean, they are 2 separate parties legally. And MAGA is the third element trying to, take over one of the corpses.
Right. I mean, it's the populist wing. I mean,
yeah.
Well, this is the biggest thing since Reagan, in my opinion.
It may be bigger. Yeah.
Well, it's a bigger swing.
Yeah, It may be bigger than the Tea Party, is what I mean.
Oh no, the Tea Party never had teeth. That was 2000.
Right. I'm saying
and
this thing does.
Right.
Does. Yeah.
This is the remnants of the Tea Party.
Oh, absolutely.
MAGA, kind of spawned out of it. You know what? Actually, it's probably a good analogy that the Tea Party is like Goldwater was to Reagan. Tea Party to MAGA is like Goldwater to Reagan, in a way.
Well, I mean, the amount of damage that Trump has done in 1 week has their heads spinning around like poltergeist.
Which is good. Yeah. I mean, that shock and awe. Hopefully, they
shock and awe.
Keep moving. Let's see. Chris Homer with a super sticker. Thank you. And
that's a homer. He just hit a homer.
Hey, Dick Dickerson came in and gifted 50 America's Untold Stories members.
I'll tell you something. Thank you, Dick, because John Dickerson, I just want to talk about, again, the change of culture. O'Donnell is out as the head of CBS Evening News, and John Dickerson is in. This is a female-male change at CBS News. He's also got this cat who is of Caribbean descent as his sidekick, who is from back east. But John Dickerson was passed over when the feminization of the news during the Me Too movement happened. He was up for anchor, and now it's finally come home. I believe he will eventually be the sole anchor for CBS News. His mother was Nancy Dickerson, who was the first on-air anchor for NBC News and was involved in an affair with LBJ here in LA, which I discussed in the LBJ episode. In 1960. This is her son, John Dickerson. Nancy Dickerson famously went up to interview LBJ in a dark room in the hotel over here in Hollywood, and LBJ did things with her in that hotel room, and his wife was in the anteroom, by the way, when it was happening. But Nancy Dickerson, who was also a beauty queen, turned NBC on-air reporter. This is her son, who's now the co-anchor of the CBS Evening News. I just wanted to remind people about that.
Wow. Okay. I can't believe I don't have a picture of that.
Of Nancy Dickerson? Or,
yeah. Apparently.
She's very popular. I mean, she was a huge, one of the first women news stars ever.
No, I thought I would have had one from the episode, but apparently.
I don't know.
That, so. While you're talking about somebody out, how about this guy? Jim Acosta.
Jim Acosta, he needs a podcast. Everybody gets a podcast, Hunley. It's a big universe. And Jim Acosta said, "Don't believe the lies." And I don't know what lies he was talking about, the ones he promulgated, I guess. Is there or has there been a bigger douche in the White House press corps in your okay, I would put him in the realm, the closest thing, and it's a distant second, is the original Sam Donaldson for ABC News.
Yeah.
If people remember Donaldson, how dickish he was at the beginning of his career. I think this guy's hero may be Sam Donaldson.
It could be hard for me to hard for me to argue that point. I don't know. I mean, that's I'd compare very.
By the way, this is
comparable
my dad's former jacket. This is a Flying Tigers air patch that he had on his work jacket that says Cy, which is my dad's name, in case people were wondering why I'm wearing this jacket. Usually when there's an airline disaster in my family, my mother and the family used to have a lot of graveyard type humor, and she would always say, "It looks like your father took his reading glasses to work today instead of his work glasses." That was a refrain when there was an airplane crash in my house.
Okay, well, it sounds like fun conversations for the evening.
Well, it was a little gallows humor in the family about any airline mishaps that occurred in the region. My father was a jet engine mechanic, for people who don't know.
All right. Well, while we're talking about the air, we've got the other story that we've been talking about for a while. Trump came out with a statement.
Oh.
After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational
Sure they were.
private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy. A statement from the President of the United States to start this briefing with some news. And with that, I will turn it over to questions.
So let me tell you something. I don't think that explained anything. Kind of made it worse, Hunley, in a lot of ways.
Well, it's very confusing because we've got her statement there. Why didn't the FAA say, yeah, they were authorized? Why didn't they admit that these were known?
I don't know what to make of it. The airspace was closed for a month, according to the FAA. Now he's saying the FAA approved all these flights. This is completely disingenuous of the Trump administration to put this out. There's obviously, he's teasing this out as to be almost so ridiculous as for him to say it's clearly not the truth. In other words, it's so over the top, this statement, as almost to indicate, I can't give you the full story. I'm going to give you this crazy 2-word sentence answer here, because it doesn't make any sense for this happening all over the country. Forget about New Jersey. It was happening at air bases, U.S. bases in Germany, for Christ's sakes. Are those hobbyists flying those in Germany? I mean, the whole thing was preposterous, Eric.
His statement actually mirrored what was being put out by Biden.
Yeah.
It mirrored it.
I mean, you've got them in formation, flying the size of RV trailers, moving at lightning speed, 100 miles an hour. We're supposed to believe these are approved by the FAA or hobbyists? Give me a break. Not only that, it's still happening right now.
Oh, I think it was approved by the FAA. I think they can't say shit. I mean, I think it was DOD stuff.
Yep.
You know, and
I mean, it could be maneuvers. Like I said, multiple agency aerial war games regarding drones was my original idea as to what the F this was, using private contractors for the most part.
Yeah,
I'm sticking with that until somebody tells me something else. But a very, very weak batch of sauce by President Trump as a definitive answer.
That makes you wonder.
I'm sorry.
It makes you wonder. I see Diffuse 56 gifted 10 America's Untold Stories memberships. So thank you. Amazing disgrace. Did you see the air traffic data? It supposedly showed 3 near misses before the crash. Yeah, apparently there's one the day before, and now they're like, oh yeah, there's near misses all the time. And oh really? Oh. Are you kidding?
Well, this may be, in a weird way, one of the best things that could have happened for everyone's safety going down for the future. Yeah. Unfortunately, out of disaster occasionally comes realignment and reformation of safety and things of that nature. This might be one of those.
Well, and I mean, you're talking about the U.S. Figure skating team.
Yeah.
Interesting. and Russians who just moved here. There's so many tragedies, so many sad stories out of this whole lot. It's disturbing. Jeffrey Richards, new member, thank you. Salty Vet Dad, I heard it was a continuation of governance flight practice, evac of government from DC.
Yeah, VIP transfers, right, Eric?
Yeah, and that's part of what was being discussed too. Is some of these flights are a general wants his thing sooner, kind of BS that's going on too. So there's just too much power in there, and then you've got Langley helicopters.
There's too much traffic in there. Never mind power. Yeah, traffic.
Well, but that's causing a lot of the traffic. People who have more power than sense. It's like you
Speaking of power, what do you think they're going to do to Mark Milley?
Okay, I haven't looked into it completely. I love that he pulled a security detail. That's good. Right. I love the idea of demoting him. They're
opening an investigation, the military tribunal.
Yes, there's a clause. There is a clause supposedly that you can look into a person's record and then reduce their rank to the last point they are deemed as being clean, if you will. So like if you were a good soldier up to being a captain or a major, then that would be, the new grade, and that would be his retirement check, by the way.
Well, I think they have to start it by putting him back on active duty to start the process.
Maybe, I don't know. Somebody just said another plane crashed in Philly.
I didn't know that.
A plane down in Philly. It's starting to come into the chat. Great. Oh boy. But yeah. I don't know. I don't know all the details because from what I understand, Biden not only pardoned him, but also did something with the UCMJ, so he couldn't be.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah. What does that mean?
Well, he can't get the military punishment. However, this would not be criminal. So it's the same way that Fauci can be sued.
Yeah.
We might have had a pardon, but so this is kind of an interesting take of go after him, financially.
Well, Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, said no J6 pardon recipients will be allowed to work in the state of Illinois in any government organization.
Okay. I don't know if you can do that, but that'd be interesting to see how that holds up in court.
Yeah. What I'm saying is the other side doesn't seem to want to honor these pardons, but the Republican side is more than willing to honor the pardons without contesting them of Joe Biden.
Yeah, it's
and you say it's about honor.
A lot of it, it's a tradition, and the Republicans tend to have more foresight, in my opinion, of what we do now will come back and bite us in the ass later. Whereas the Democrats at this point and the leftists are like, I don't give a damn. I'm going to get all now, all the time, zero-sum game. And
I agree with you on that. Somebody pointed out yesterday, which I said in the show like 3 or 4 weeks ago, that they could appoint a special hitman, any presidential group, and president can appoint a group to do evil law-breaking things and then pardon them as he's leaving office. It was on TV, it was on Newsmax. Somebody saying that it had reached the mainstream media. The idea that if this is allowed to stand, future presidents will be allowed to designate a criminal doer to do evil and just pardon them at the end.
Yeah, and maybe not to the degree of a hitman, but who's to say that hasn't already happened?
Right. No.
But Biden pardoned so many people.
Yeah.
Well, he already had his son acting in that role. So
yeah.
That hitman's just taking it to the highest level of thought.
I'm saying hitman in generic terms, but it could be any crimes if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean it's.
If not Mark Milley could have gotten us all killed.
Well, yeah. I mean, Mark Milley. It's funny they sit there and talk about Ed Snowden.
Yeah.
Being a traitor. It's like, no, I'd say that's Mark Milley.
Yeah.
Far more than Ed Snowden.
Mark Milley, Ed Snowden didn't call up the head of the Chinese Communist Party army and say, I'm here for you.
Exactly. And he even did, Glenn Greenwald was on with Megyn Kelly talking about Ed Snowden and saying that Ed Snowden was very responsible with the data he did put out.
Yeah.
He said, only put out what is needed to prove this, but bury everything else. Do not release it. And the vast majority of data he had has never been released.
Can we talk about this RFK thing? Because what was Megyn Kelly doing sitting next to Cheryl Hines in the confirmation hearing?
She was there for RFKJ. She was also there. By the way, that's a new trend. She calls him RFKJ.
Oh, I've never heard that.
Yeah, well, she does it. I've seen others do it. She was the first one I heard doing it. But she also was there for Hegseth.
Oh, weird. That's weird.
Yes.
She's doing this as a reporter or as a citizen?
Oh, a citizen, and she's not on a network. She's independent. So she's like you or me, just trying to influence.
Right, but if I saw Tucker sitting back there, I would just go, "That's weird."
I wouldn't be surprised, though. I mean, she doesn't pretend to be.
What I was surprised was Amaryllis Fox sitting right there next to him, and his wife being in the second row with the former CIA operative Amaryllis Fox sitting in the frame. Now, it's all about the frame. People think they're not conscious of it. They are extremely conscious of the frame. Amaryllis Fox was in that frame. Megyn Kelly was in the frame, and Cheryl Hines was in the frame. Cheryl Hines was in the second row. Amaryllis Fox was sitting right next to him in the first row. The CIA operative who RFK Jr. famously went to Trump and recommended to go through the JFK files, and Trump said, "No, it's a bridge too far, bro. That ain't going to happen." So I wonder, what is her game?
Well, she's Amaryllis.
What's her game now?
Well, her game is getting power. I mean, remember, Trump was RFK was trying to get Trump to put her in as a deputy director of the CIA and whatever else. I mean, we know what her game is now. Megyn Kelly. I mean, Megyn Kelly
I don't
become
blame
an
Megyn
activist.
Kelly. Yeah, I don't blame Megyn Kelly. I'm more afraid of the former CIA operative Amaryllis Fox than I am of Megyn Kelly. I don't care about Megyn Kelly. And Cheryl Hines is his wife. So I mean, she's the one who put up with this entire crazy. She should get Wife of the Year award, Cheryl Hines.
Yeah. By the way, that's something. I was shocked that they did not go after Bobby like they did Hegseth.
Yeah.
With all of his personal shit.
I agree.
I agree. I'm like,
I agree.
Whoa. They actually just went after him for his statements in the record.
Yeah. I agree.
In terms of how it went, they were very professional to him.
I agree. I completely agree.
I
thought the same thing. I was waiting for these bombshells to come flying, stuff we already knew, but
like from his sister, from his cousin.
Yeah.
Caroline. Cousin. I was like, oh well, here it goes. She's
How about his own sisters have said the most outrageous things.
Yeah.
Somebody must have made a phone call saying not to use the family stuff.
Maybe somebody should. I guess her phone was off the hook.
I mean, I have emails of him, RFK Jr., that he sent to his sisters, yelling at them not to use their mother, who was in a vegetative state at the time, as a political pawn in their game. I mean, there's bad blood in this family, not on his part, but on their part.
Well, yeah,
and it's all the girls plus Schosberg, the grandson, who was mocking his speech impairment to the family that created the Special Olympics. It was a little much to listen to.
Well, what about the fact too? Schlossberger was making fun of his speech account, which Kerry Kennedy also has.
That's right.
And I believe another one of the siblings also has.
Partially,
So what's up with that? And by the way, isn't that verboten from Democrats?
The guy's douche of the year. He's definitely douche of the year. Some younger people told me he's hot shit on social media. That he's followed by a lot of people, girls, who like him.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, you know what? While we were talking about drones and things missing, something else did get discovered.
Mm-hmm.
There was a recently discovered asteroid.
What?
Yeah.
Not the Georgia gemstones again.
No. Somebody, a private astronomer, discovered an asteroid. They were going to register and everything, and then they found out, oh, oops, Remember Elon shot up his
Oh
Tesla
my
Roadster
God. Yes, of course.
with the space oddity? Well,
Space,
they
yeah.
thought that was an asteroid.
Oh,
It
dear
has been
God, that's
discovered
brilliant.
again.
That's brilliant. Is the guy still in the car? Is the tape still playing?
I
Is the David
doubt it.
Bowie music still going?
I don't know.
Holy shit.
Anyway, so CN 41, Charlie November 41, is the Tesla Roadster. That
Wow.
Elon
There's
Musk
stuff
put in
up there
space.
that nobody knows. I mean, imagine you go for a spacewalk in the future and there's that Roadster right by your spacecraft.
I guess, and I mean, well, there can't be any rust or corrosion, right?
No, no.
I mean, I'm just like,
No.
I wonder how long it would last. I wonder what it would look like or how it would break down. I mean, obviously,
Well,
like
I mean,
whatever
when does
plastic parts would just
when
be.
and how does the Mars adventure begin, in your humble opinion, to go to Mars? How does that start? I mean, what are the physics involved with that trip?
I don't know. I mean, I'd
I
say
mean, it's going to take a while. I'd say let's get going here if you're serious.
well, more rockets and more I mean, more
Right, but it's going to
rockets
have to
and
be
robots and
stages of
drones and
boosters. You're going to
yeah.
have to have a, just off the top of my head, you're going to have a series of boosters in space that are not just the launch boosters.
Well, and they do tricks like swinging or
Oh,
like
yeah, yeah.
slingshotting or
Slingshotting, yeah.
whatever it is. But also it takes like 2 or 3 years.
I know,
I know
that's
it
what I'm
takes
saying. They
years
better
to
get
get
going.
there.
They better get going. And what about sponsors? Are there going to be logos on the outside of the craft?
I wouldn't-
Pennzoil sponsoring trip to Mars.
It could be. I wouldn't be surprised, especially because I don't know
So
if you've
expensive.
noticed, Jeff Bezos is now on board talking to Trump and everything.
Mhm.
And he on Elon are congratulating each other for successful rocket launches. So I wouldn't be completely surprised if Bezos gets into that with Elon and they might work together towards this.
That's interesting. Well,
goal.
he had to get away from them because they were closing in on him, the Democratic progressives, for having a non-union shop, and he fought them off for years by offsetting it with massive political donations. But that noose was tightening around his neck. He's got some of the worst working conditions of any company in the country. I mean, if you read about how they're forced to work in those warehouses,
Or the truck drivers, you have to have bottles, the pee bottles.
yeah, wow.
That was a famous one, which actually I think was kind of a less of a controversy because I know a lot of people who do driving that have a bottle in a vehicle.
Okay, no, I'm just saying that they're under incredible
it's
control in the warehouse with cameras on them 24/7 and no breaks and things of that nature, and a lot of injuries that occur lifting and doing stuff in the warehouse.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, now he technically is not the CEO anymore.
Right,
So,
right. Maybe that hot Sanchez girl is the CEO.
I don't
That
know.
Zuckerberg was caught kind of angling his eyes down into the Sanchez region of the valley.
A couple
and
people were
caught on
doing that.
camera. Okay.
I forgot who else it was. Was it JD Vance or somebody else?
Somebody was looking down.
Well, everybody. I mean, it was like, I'm not being approved, but that was ridiculous out there.
It was absurd.
I mean,
absurd. There's something wrong with this girl. There's something wrong with her. She does this everywhere. She did this in LA. She used to be on like a weather girl here, a news girl, and that's how she made her bones.
Okay, and I have no issues with it, but not necessarily an inauguration.
Right.
Good God.
Well, it's got us talking about it.
No, there you go. Desert Tortoise says Trump is blaming competency problems on DEI, but everyone forgets that Jimmy Carter eliminated objective testing for hiring in 1980.
Wow.
Everyone beforehand has by now retired.
Okay, that's probably true.
David JB said Schweigart has been very vocal about the seriousness of the growing national debt. Seems his talent/time would be best served working with Doge instead of JFK funds.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
This is not for them. This is not designed for congressional people to get their little fat fingers into. This is not for them. This guy's right. I mean, he deserves to deal with Doge.
100%. I mean,
and the other guy,
already done,
Stephen
so-
Cohen, is just deranged. He's just totally insane. He's just totally crazy.
Jack White is saying, I mean, Schumer is a beta and has been Pelosi's little lapdog for a long time now. Look up videos of them. Every time Schumer and her about to enter a room, he always lets her go ahead of him. She's the only one he does that for.
No, I don't know about that, bro.
old-fashioned. A lot of men do that.
Yeah, a lot of people do that. I don't know. That's it's a little. That's a stretch.
The real Big John. Will we ever get to the bottom of who ordered the assassination of JFK, RFK, MLK, CIA, Mafia, FBI, Secret Service? Will the release of these files solve all the conspiracies?
Oh,
possibly.
That's your demand. Yeah, I mean,
possibly RFK.
Yeah,
and, probably.
I mean,
clarify MLK a little bit.
Look at the episodes we've done, Real Big John. I think your answers might be there if you watch the episodes, because there was a conspiracy to kill MLK. The guy, James Earl Ray, was almost all the way to South Africa. There's the business conspiracy in Memphis to kill him. I mean, it's kind of open and shut case. People aren't happy that it's James Earl Ray for some reason. I don't know what difference does it make who the guy. That's the guy who's got 9 phony passports, getting all the way to England, but he's not the guy who's part of the conspiracy. Give me a break.
We've got more shit about that episode.
It's
than Marilyn
insane.
Monroe.
And people are absolutely insane. I mean, if you want a proven conspiracy, that's the best one. The Sirhan one, which I am so excited to look forward as the documents coming out of justice, because Manny Pena was CIA and he was on the LAPD intelligence squad, and Hernandez was CIA, and he was what?
The LBJ ties to that too. Everybody's thinking
Oh, yeah.
JFK,
No,
but
absolutely.
I didn't even think about that though.
Yeah.
Cohen may be more worried about the
That's what I
RFK
said.
files.
The RFK, but it's also LBJ is what he's worried about, is what I said. Cohen, I mean.
No, I understand, but I
Yeah.
was just thinking though, there may be more meat in RFK because that was considered such an
Well,
open and shut. The guy's locked up.
Those are scattered, and which Morley said the other day. Morley doesn't know anything about RFK by his own admission,
Mhm.
but those files are not in where they're looking for the JFK files. Those files are scattered, and a lot of them are at Justice. And those particular files, if you get into LAPD intelligence and how Pena and Hernandez were both CIA, and and Al Gonzalez can back us up on this, every big city cop organization had CIA connections. They designate a couple of guys who were the CIA liaisons. Let me just leave it at that. Manny Pena, who was known as Shoot 'em Up Manny, by the way, in the LAPD, and Hank Hernandez, who was the lie detector master, were the ones running the RFK investigation, the assassination into RFK. And Sirhan obviously did not do the shooting that they claimed, because the perfect autopsy by Thomas Noguchi indicated that he was killed at point blank range with the gun literally touching the back of his head.
Opposite side.
The opposite side, with the gun touching the back of his ear, which was Thane Eugene Caesar. We now know that. So we know so much more about those 2 assassinations than we do about JFK, oddly enough. And JFK is older. JFK had all the law behind it. JFK had all the investigations behind it. And we know more about RFK and MLK than we do about those 2. That one.
Well, I think because, and maybe I'm wrong to say this, but I feel like the RFK was a simpler case.
Well, it was a simple case that even people who later looked into it, like myself and others, believed it was an open and shut case, because it was so well staged that everyone believed, including me and Oliver Stone and everyone else, that it was an open and shut case. Sirhan shot him, and that's the end of it. The Noguchi autopsy, if anybody had bothered to look at it, would indicate completely the opposite, that it couldn't have been Sirhan.
Which is just amazing to consider.
It's amazing. It's just the science of it. I mean, I'll debate anywhere, anybody, anytime, just about the autopsy by Thomas Noguchi of the RFK assassination. He knew according to Noguchi, and he writes about it in his memoirs, that the JFK autopsy had been bungled and covered up without a doubt. And he brought in observers from each military branch to watch him in the room do what he did. He was quite conscious of history, and he said so at the time, that this was going to be the most perfect autopsy I've ever carried out.
Smart as hell. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, he's auditing
They then tried to
himself
destroy
live.
him. They then tried to destroy him. They fired him. They smeared him. They said he was on drugs. He sued to get his job back, and he was victorious. They had him on the witness stand in the Sirhan case, and they got him off of that witness stand in lightning speed because of what he knew. And then they tried to destroy him.
That was the smartest thing that dude ever did. Who is still alive, by the way.
That's right. That's right.
Nick Uetti said,
that's funny.
Yeah, was going to send $10, but Trump hit me with tariffs. 25% tariff. Let the tariffs begin. Great show as always.
That's funny. That's funny. Let the tariffs begin.
Jack White, remember, Tish James was a major power behind taking down Cuomo because she wanted to take his job.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. Remember that. Yeah, I mean, there's so much dirty politics, dirty urban racial politics in New York. Italians versus blacks, Jews versus blacks. I mean, there's a lot of bad blood there, and maybe it'll be resolved.
Oh, maybe. Let's hope so.
It's about power. It's just about power. I mean, the Irish ran the city for a long time. Jews ran the city, and now blacks run the city. I mean, it is what it is. That's an urban.
Always a minority.
It's always a minority that comes to power eventually and takes control of the place that they were originally stepped upon.
Why is it always a minority? And
because they could turn out the votes, they could turn out the block minority.
No, but I just think it's funny because it's always the minority, which we agree on.
Yeah.
But it's always blamed on the majority, the white guy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like, how does that work? It's always a minority, but the bad guy is always us. Let me see. We've got we can think. Oh, you shared this video with me earlier. This is actually for 2015, but it's still pretty cool. And it is Trump, surprisingly, with Serena.
Oh my God! Yeah, this was great.
Yeah, it's from 2015. I looked up. It's still cool.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump is always where the cameras are when it involves making money. And today at Lowe's Island in Sterling, Virginia, he opened the Tennis Performance Center. Trump volleyed with Serena Williams, shoes off, coat on. Donald Trump showing he's got some game, some little. It's right there at the Trump National Club. Both are tremendous facilities. It was good to see him out there, and the fans seem to enjoy it.
Dude, he's killing it, bro. That's fun. That's fun. Look, I mean, he now he plays golf. I guess it's easier with golf.
Well, I mean, this is 10 years ago now.
Yeah,
he's going to slow down, but he's obviously in pretty good shape. But other than his McDonald's habit, he's pretty clean living.
Well, what about Bobby with those nicotine cheek and gum pouches that he was popping during the hearings?
I didn't.
You didn't see that? Oh no,
no,
dude!
no.
He had pouches of nicotine that he, cheek and gum that he was putting in there all through the hearing.
Is he a smoker?
Not anymore. He's using the pouch.
Oh, good God. Okay.
I'm just saying, Eric.
No,
I mean,
I that's something.
He's the commissioner of health with nicotine pouches in his gums.
Jesus.
Damn, man. Damn.
This guy's nuts.
Wow. Wow.
I'm so glad that when I quit, it was in 2005. I quit smoking. Oh shit! It's 20 years in May.
Wow, marvelous.
But I'm thrilled that I quit then because vaping started a couple years after I quit, and I know that if vaping had been available when I was smoking, I would probably be vaping to this day or doing something stupid.
Okay, there was a chick at the health hearing with him in the audience who was hitting the pipe. I don't know if you saw that video. She was a staffer who was hitting the vape pipe during the hearings.
Well, I'm sure that it is. I'm sure that wouldn't be tobacco because tobacco is terrible. It's probably weed, right?
No, I think it was tobacco. I don't think it was weed. I really don't. I think she was just hitting the vape pipe for tobacco.
Oh,
but she was quite surreptitious about it. She was like hitting it and putting it down, and you know how they do that. And I thought,
Wow.
how appropriate at a hearing on health.
Wow, I saw somebody do that on a plane years ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And
well,
now
the fact that there's a photo in the New York Post of Bobby Kennedy's pouch next to him. So that's, I'm not making this up. It was sitting.
I didn't think you were.
Yeah,
I just, I mean, I like him for the position, but he is a strange dude. I'm not going to pretend he's not.
Well, they didn't bring up the whale blubber head. They didn't bring up the bear. None of that stuff came up. I was quite surprised. You know, I figured like one of them would say, why would we appoint you after you did A, B, C, D, and E?
I know. I mean, unless they were his customers when he was dealing the drugs.
Oh, I never thought about that.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
That's a long time ago. I mean, that's like 30 years ago.
And maybe he has dirt on people. I just really am shocked that it did.
Yeah.
I don't know why. That was very weird. But here's some good news that you shared with me. Ibram X. departing Boston University.
Yeah.
And
well, I'm sure
the
there'll be lawsuits.
The Center for Anti-Racist Research to close after 5 years.
Well, he started to sexually go after or get involved with a number of the quote unquote workers or students there. They started to file charges against him. As you could imagine, it was not a safe workplace.
I see.
Yeah, I think that's what this is about. Because
I
think
the
these
true
cases,
intersectionality and action there.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's where I think they saw these cases moving forward and they decided to get out. But this is one of the things I was telling you about. The Trump effect is all of these different things that are trying to get ahead of the Trump train.
Which I'm delighted to see. Let's see. I'm talking about Costco.
Pete Buttigieg took down his own pronouns yesterday from his own Facebook page.
Oh, you know.
I mean, right?
AOC
why would
did
he?
That
right.
The election too.
So the word is like it's out of vogue now. It's out of. You know, people are afraid that they're being hunted socially, and they don't want to. You know, they want to stay ahead of the train.
Well, I mean, I use them. I actually found them handy. It's like anybody who put pronouns in their bio, I knew what they were. It's sort of like anybody wearing a mask. I know what they are. It's kind of a handy shortcut. You're like,
interesting.
Oh, douche. Thank you. Oh, it saves time. It just saves time.
Sir Douche-a-lot.
Yep.
Interesting.
Pronouns in the bio, wearing a mask in the middle of the day, driving. I love people wearing the mask in their car driving.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, geniuses. Then getting even better. Fletcher Boy said hard term limits for House and Senate, 20 years max.
I'd vote for that. I'd vote for that.
Actually, I'd say 2 terms for Senate, so 12 years.
You got to go.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And then for the House, like, that was one thing Matt Gaetz said that I liked. He said that he saw Congress as something you do for a while, but you don't live there.
And well, what do they have? 12 years
10
combined?
or 12. Yeah.
I mean, combined with the state Senate in Florida, I think he was adding that in there.
Yeah.
He was a state senator.
True. But I mean,
I don't blame him for getting out. He doesn't need the money. He didn't understand what he didn't even understand, Bill Maher, what he was talking about. He's so stupid. I mean, I think he's so drug addled at this point. You know, Matt Gaetz was saying, I never took contributions from anyone. And Bill Maher goes, how did you get elected, bro? What made you so special? And he didn't have the courage to say, I come from a wealthy family. If you would have done your homework, you'd realize that my family has a lot of money and I didn't have to do that. Instead,
well, he did get small donors.
He did say he took small donations, but there were no corporate, right? I think that was his main thing.
Unlike Bernie,
who's never turned down a check or a Ben and Jerry's double dip cup.
That's why I love about Bernie. He got caught out pretty badly there. by RFK, and that was nice.
That was
that
good.
was nice. That was nice to see.
Didn't RFK endorse him for president, or?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I mean, they go back. Well, that's the other thing. Bernie's calling him Bobby. He's calling him Bernie.
Yeah.
So that was it. Somebody did bring something up with Tulsi, and I didn't even think about it, and I kind of feel bad. They referred to her as Tulsi.
That's weird.
She's a colonel.
I know. What should they say? Colonel
Gabbard, or Colonel.
Ooh. What do they say with Hegseth?
Mr. Hegseth, I think.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's a formality. I think that it's Mr. Kennedy. Most of the time, I think you're supposed to address them by a title,
right.
But with her, and she is a military person, she should have that title, kind of like a doctor. A rank is a specific title. That was a little shady, and not even her last name. So
interesting.
I never thought about that, and I don't like to say misogyny.
Oh no, there was something,
but there
on
definitely
there.
is a little she's just a little lady who's too stupid not to be influenced by all these other people.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Jack White said they're not two separate parties when you're talking about Pelosi, Schumer, Graham, and Mitch. They're all friends behind the scenes, and they're all partying and breaking the law together. It's a uniparty. Yeah. Okay. We don't disagree.
I mean, let me put it this way. Do you think it was more bipartisan 20 years ago, Jack, than it is today? There's my answer.
Well, let's just say I think O'Neill tipped a few back with he used to hang out and go visit Reagan all the time.
Right.
Jack White again. Jack is supporting us this show.
No. Jack White is a generic name. There are many Jack Whites. This is kind of like the masked movement that Jack White represents. These are names that work with him. People who are loyal to the Jack White movement.
Well, I all hail the Jack White movement. I love reading super chats from Jack White. This is great.
Well, I love the White Stripes. Him and his wife, phony sister combo that he did for so many years. I thought it was a brilliant act.
Yep, and they had one killer song. Jack White, it's the reason they can break the law with impunity because they will constantly cover for each other, and that includes their donors. Agree.
Well, they also have immunity, so that helps. I mean, they can't be sued. So what do you mean they don't have to cover for each other?
No, Jack White continues. Donors, so Murdoch and the Koch brothers and Bill Gates and Soros are all card-carrying members of the Uniparty. Yeah. I mean, there are some disagreements, but there are some definite parallels. Jack White again. Basically, they're all in agreement on where we're going, and it's a place where little people like us get effed. They're just debating at the speed at which we get there.
Well, it's a pretty cynical view of the world, Jack. I don't know if it really operates at that level. I will challenge you to come back with another response if you have the money. You may be broke at this point.
He's not done, Mark. He's not done. There's more here, okay? It's the reason the establishment Republicans cave to 90% of what the Dems want.
But that just contradicts your entire logic then. If it's the same party, why are they caving to 90% of what the Dems want? You're now undermining your entire thesis, Jack, saying it's one uniparty. Why would one be caving to the other?
Well, I think
he's out of money. Now the poor guy's just.
Oh no, there's more coming up.
But, get out of here.
But Kay is here, so we're interrupting. What hotel should we look into for the Vegas meetup? The
meetup's not in a hotel. It's at a place we had the same that Robert put on Italian American Club, and we're not staying there. It's a restaurant.
You can't. There's no hotel.
There's no hotel. So I am going to be at the Trump, a tradition as old as time. Hunley, of course, at Motel 6, an old tradition that he loves to explore.
Leslie's coming, so
Motel 6 is out because of gunfire last time. I will be at the Trump.
Yes, we have a friend of the show who likes to call them the Hunley 6.
The Hunley 6, yeah. We will have it Friday night, April 11th, and it'll be quite spectacular. I think even Viva's going to come for this one.
Here's hoping. Alexander B. Captain Steve does a good analysis. In short, the chopper was flying above the approved 200 feet. He has all the ATC flight records, video and audio.
All right.
I believe.
You know, unless it's, and I put this out there delicately, unless it's, how can I say this? Harry Carry by copter, which is what I was thinking last night with the lights off. And this is not the first time this has happened.
Well, that was part of the training question with MVG training with the lights off on the helicopters, what some are saying.
But it may have been a Harry Carry, a chopper Harry Carry. That's what
some
has anybody said that? That was my first
no, it's been thrown out there, but a lot of people have pushed back saying no, it was
okay. Well, we'll find out.
It was on the normal path of it. Dick Dickerson, hey Mark, did you watch the Kirk Gibson video I posted on Locals? Classic MLB moment.
You mean the Gibson home run? Is that the one you're referring to, Dick? I mean, I think I've seen it 17 million times, unless it's something else. The greatest moments in sports before the Freddie Freeman home grand slam against the Crankies last year, this past October. But Gibson was the number one moment until it was replaced by the Freddie Freeman grand slam for this event.
Interesting question here was John McGill. Do you have any advice how to deal with the friends in the intelligence world for us truth seekers? Should we pretend to buy their BS, or is it better to argue and call them out?
You can do what you want. I look at them as I can't believe anything they're saying. And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean that because they're trained liars. That's what they're trained to do. I believe once CIA, always CIA. I just try not to get involved with them. I try not to be in their world. I try not to be friends with them. I don't take what they say in a podcast for to be the truth. They always put in grains of truth to hook you onto the bait. So I can't intellectually be involved with them because I don't know what's true and what's not true and what their agenda is. So I try to just avoid them at all costs.
Well, I think I can see both sides of that, because they're going to be out there. They're going to be peddling things all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that it's kind of like criminology. Even if they're peddling a lie, you can get information out of a lie, if that makes sense, because you can go, they're pushing this particular narrative. There's something to see there. So it can be helpful to you in the sense of whatever.
I know, but I agree with you. I just can't discern that myself because of my limited ability. So I don't want to put myself in a vulnerable intellectual position to be abused by someone who has an agenda, if that makes any sense.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, that's my only take. God bless them. Godspeed. Do what you want. Everybody says, no, but he's my CIA guy. He's the best. He's on the right side. And I'm going like, bro, they fake being on the right side. They fake being on the left side. It's part of the operation. I can't listen to somebody on a podcast or talk to them or read about them and vouch for them. It's absurd. It's absurd. Well, how could you criticize so-and-so? He's dude, he was on the up and up, you know.
Jack White. Eric, see, Jack White's still here. Eric, to answer your question, it's called gay race communism, and the pioneers of it are the Frankfurt School, Herbert Marcuse, Pielo Freire, and Antonio Gramsci. Now, I know about the Frankfurt School, and
they're all gay?
I guess some of them are, but a lot of the postmodernists are gay. Stephen McMahon. When was Coroner Noguchi's autopsy of RFK made public? Any cop would know immediately.
It was immediate. It was public records. They were public records. They've been on file since day one. Anybody could look at them. They're quite available. I mean, the second you look at it, you could see what happened. In fact, he had, come up with this system using silk screens and firing guns to develop the science of how far a gun was from the actual target. That was what Noguchi was known for, was coming up with whether it's guns. I'm not talking about blood splatter, which is a separate science. It's called, I forget the word, like something with a T. He was able to determine by the gun spray of the dust how far a gun was from a particular target.
Oh yeah,
you know what I call it?
Yes,
you know
there's a term for it.
There's a term for it. I forgot what it's
I'd
called.
spit it out any other day.
I
But
know,
now
me
you ask
too.
me,
Me too. Yeah.
Splatter.
It's not. It's something with a T. Titter or titter, something a titter. Someone in the chat will know what it is. But the point of the matter is
terminal ballistics.
No, that I've never heard. But nevertheless, he developed the science of gun distance from target based on gases coming out of the gun, the gases itself.
Okay. Somebody's saying stippling as well.
Yes, that's the word. Sorry, that's the word. Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Jack White again. New amendment with term limits and a stipulation that you can only run for one of the two chambers of commerce. You either got the House or Senate. You can't bounce between the two of them.
Well, I mean, the constitutional amendments come every single day. They're easy to get, Jack, as you know, for your $10.
Well, Biden said it when he was going out, so obviously he
Yeah,
just declared it.
I mean, constitutional amendments are takes a couple of decades to pull off. But okay, I'm with Jack White on this one. I'll accept that challenge.
I know. He's going to be he's co-hosting.
Yeah, Jack. It's the Jack White show.
Yeah, it is. I think Bobby has a lot of dirt on these people. Maybe that's why they left some issues alone. It could be.
Is that a question of leave them alone? They're already out there in the public. I mean,
that's true.
We couldn't explore them anymore if we wanted to. I mean, his sex diary, which I believe was his fourth step sexual inventory, was printed in the New York Post, for Christ's sakes.
Not the whole thing, right?
The whole thing.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. God, I didn't. Okay. Jack White, extend the term for representatives from 2 to 4 years, and after you serve 2 terms in either the House or the Senate, then you can run for the presidency, and that's all you get.
What country is Jack White living in where he comes up with his own fictional country? It's very exciting, the Jack White nation that he lives in, but you have political capital that needs to be expended in certain areas. I guess in the perfect country, that would be great.
But I like he's spending his monetary capital.
No. Don't remind him. Don't remind him. Once Jack White gets on a roll, nothing can stop Jack White other than his mother, because Jack White is 13 years old and he's got his mother's credit card, which has happened before, where his mother has called us after the show saying her son was underage, which, I didn't even know if that was his mother after the show 6 weeks ago when he spent $1,700 on $10 super chats and sending in 170 of them. That was insane, Jack. And then the mother woke up. Apparently she was asleep. He went through her pocketbook or something. But it's still legal for us, so I don't care. It's his mother's problem.
The cash.
Yeah, it's his mother's problem if she goes to sleep all day.
All right. Soul Doggy said, my first super chat was about a year ago, and I said Trump needed to flood the zone on day one. I've never been so happy politically in my whole life.
You know what, Doggy? Me too. Because he's doing what he said he was going to do. And I am shocked that he's doing a lot more than he even said he was going to do. Right, Eric?
I've never seen campaign promises kept like he has.
But it's even more than what he promised.
No. I mean, that's just bonuses.
And it's always been at the end of the 4th year at the last minute that these things would happen. He's doing it the first week.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh God, I hope he doesn't run out of stuff. No,
right.
But I think he is literally trying to ram it in.
Yeah.
The first 100 days.
Or the first 2 years. The first 2 years.
The first 2 years. But even the first 100 days is the most important. That is the period.
Well, he'll have the additional congressional votes after the first 90 days because you'll have those special elections to fill those empty Republican seats. So he'll have more power 100 days out, to be honest with you.
But I think he's still smart to keep pushing.
Well, he's got the mo. He's got the big mo, as they say.
Yep.
What's going to happen to the Super Bowl in New Orleans? You think it's going to be safe, Jack White? That's coming up next week in New Orleans, a town that's running itself with nobody in charge, but that 95-year-old grandmother chief of police. You think we should turn the entire Super Bowl over to that old bag? Hold on, we missed the Jack Whiter.
All right, we'll see. Okay,
Yeah.
saying, all right, because the establishment Republicans agree with 90% of what the Dems want to do secretly, they just put on an act to fool their constituents into thinking they're trying to fight for their interests. They're not.
Okay, well, look, I happen to disagree with almost everything you stand for, Jack, except the money that you use to perpetuate and propagate your propaganda, pushing it on the people, the poor people who happen to live here. But yeah, you got a good point there. One of them seems to be more dominant than the other, Eric, is what I think he's saying.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like maybe the Democrats are driving the crazy train and the Republicans always seem to be. Maybe Jack can explain that. I think I'm confused, but is he saying that the Democrats are driving the train and the Republicans are always trying to catch up?
I think at the moment, this is my personal opinion, it's just
Yeah.
a power situation.
Yeah.
There is the establishment wing of both parties.
Mm.
That's the uniparty he's talking about. Now,
Is that
even
true,
though-
Jack?
Well, that's my assumption. But anyway, even though there is the establishment wing of both parties and they're overall mostly in alignment, one is going to be dominant over the other. Now, in the 80s, actually into the 90s, early oddies, the Republicans were dominant in the establishment wing. That's how we got the Patriot Act and all the other shenanigans that went on. Now it's switched, and the Dems have become more dominant with it. But notice it's the same shit. It's the same Patriot Act. Instead of Patriot Act, it's going after citizens here, but it's the same thing. It's taking power over the people by one side or the other, but ultimately it's kind of...
Will they allow Tulsi Gabbard to be the supreme ruler of all universal intelligence on the earth?
I don't know, dude. I mean, that's a...
I mean, think about the power that
I know it's... She's
Come
her
on,
headwinds.
Eric,
We can
it's
say
like
that.
CIA director on steroids.
Well, the CIA director did get through.
I know.
So that was like...
I mean, she would be John Ratcliffe's boss.
Yeah.
And the boss of ONI, and the boss of every FBI, and the boss of...
Not the FBI.
Intelligence division of the FBI.
No,
Intel.
but that's still under the Attorney General.
Okay, but the Intel units that are involved in all these different agencies, she oversees all of that. Just the Intel part, not cops and robbers stuff.
Okay, well, I'd have to look into it because I think that
the briefings would come to them from her. Let me just put it that way, including Trump. I mean, that's kind of their what they were saying yesterday, that she would be the one to brief last briefer of Trump on intelligence. She would have his ear, and that terrifies them.
Yeah, and by the way, that position was created by W.
Yeah.
Okay,
and Jack White.
Jonathan G94. Elizabeth Warren was a disgrace this week, and as a human being, period. The fact she came out of Oklahoma seems like God's mistake, but he made up for it with Carrie Underwood.
Whoa, that's interesting. Carrie Capella Underwood.
Much nicer.
Yeah, Warren's a nutbag, man. She's just off the reservation crazy. I don't know why she can't be civil with this stuff and stop getting into histrionics so quickly. She goes from like 0 to 60 in a millisecond.
Yeah, it's Karen syndrome.
Yeah. I mean, is she the Ruth Page of the Senate, or Ruth Payne of the Senate?
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. I don't know. Jack White again. Gramsci was the first to figure out that Marx's predictions about capitalism caving in on itself and that the revolution wouldn't happen, so he advocated using oppressed minority groups.
Right, he's right about that. Because the class thing wasn't cutting it anymore, and they switched over to race, and that was a big part, a big change in the Marxist movement, was to make it racial.
Yep.
Especially in the West.
Jack White again.
Was he have different colors for his different people?
Different amounts. $5 is blue.
Oh, that's different.
Yellow
colors.
is $10. Right. He's done $20. You know, he's covering the range here. Jack White.
Yeah. Because his mother's sleeping. She got up and there was that cash sticking out of her bag from last night.
Apparently.
She was so drunk, his mother, last night. She parked the car on a guy's lawn across the street, and there's cash between the door of the car and where Jack White's bedroom is.
100%. I'm saying it's possible if you can get 2/3 of the states to vote in favor of it and the people on the ground pushing for it hardcore.
Yeah, any amendment is possible based on that. But I mean, that takes millions and millions of dollars in political capital for any amendment, any amendment. And you could look at, go back and look at prohibition and see what I mean by that.
Yeah, Fletcher Boy, and his approval numbers are going up daily. Yes.
Is that true? Is that true, Eric?
This is the first time in history that a president had higher approval numbers in his second term than he ever did in the first term.
I know it's in the high 40s right now. So.
No, it's over 50.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
No. This is the first time it's the highest he's ever been, and is the first time in history that a president has had higher numbers second round.
Interesting.
Piers Lord Phillips. Jack White is a magnificent example of the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Well, the Kruger and effect, the Kruger and, that's where it came from. The Kruger and came from Kruger, and the Dunning effect was obviously the Dunning-Bradshaw effect. But yeah, Jack White studied at the Dunning-Kruger School of Economics. I think it's in Stuttgart.
TPS 30 with 2 pounds. Thank you. And
his real name is Jack Weiss, but he changed it because of anti-Semitism.
Could be. Okay, so it's Nick Giusti. Eric, it's Giusti, like Giusti. It's Italian.
Okay.
It means you watch your back. Just kidding.
That's the guy's name.
It 10 times now, different each time. So please call me Nick. Love you guys.
A little touchy about that, Nick. You may want to get a stage name like Nick Justice or something, like a lot of, Max Kaminsky would never be that famous. Max Kaminsky, if he had kept that name, we would never have the name Mel Brooks. So
good point. Well, what about, okay, I've got one for you. Engelbert Humperdinck.
Right.
That not his original name.
No, that was the reverse. They wanted to come up with a name that would stand out because he was, if I remember the storyline correctly, Tom Jones is the clone. He's trying to clone Tom Jones. And Tom Jones was such a simple name and dominated the earth as that type of singer that they wanted to come up with a name that would separate him from Tom Jones. And they came up with Engelbert Humperdinck. Same thing with Rodney Dangerfield. His name was Jack Cohen. He came up with the name Rodney Dangerfield because Jack Cohen was so simple and he was in debt to people.
But Dangerfield is cool. Humperdinck is not exactly.
How cool is Rodney Dangerfield when he came up with it? I mean, come on, that's crazy. It wasn't cool then. You're saying that now because he's been around on the scene. But you would never. How about Peter Lemongello, the third guy who tried to copy Tom Jones? Now that was a strange name. Peter Lemongello is stranger than Engelbert Humperdinck, in my opinion.
All right.
Both of them clones of the legendary Welsh singer, crooner, Tom Jones.
Okay. Jack White again. Not a sports fan, and all you have to do is look into who's funding the establishment figures. They're largely funded by the same people, and Hunley has got it right. Okay.
Funding what? The politics? Or
yes.
What does that have to do with sports?
I don't know. He's saying that it's similar, I guess, to sports and who's funding. I don't know.
I don't understand. Sometimes Jack White gets so drunk, and I remember this from a couple of months ago, where he just starts throwing out crazy crap. And they 5150'd him one year, where they brought in 5150 is when they come and take you down and put you on a 24-hour watch. That hasn't happened to Jack in a long time, and his super chats have been spot on. But now I see he's getting a little crazy again.
Yeah, yes. Pamela Clifton, happy Friday, guys. I'm also watching
she's always
locals.
This lady's.
Oh, yeah, she's one of our first. Quite often the first.
Okay, so this is going to be the biggest meetup of all time because it's not only going to be me and Hunley. It's going to be Barnes's birthday in Vegas, and whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And I think the last time, did we do a show? The last time.
Well,
in the backyard there?
When we were together out there, we just
the guy's supposed to call me today, by the way. The chef is supposed to call me about the thing. We didn't call. What did we have last time? Wasn't there like meatballs, lasagna? There was sausage. Remember in that back room there?
Yeah. So are you in touch with him? Okay, good.
Yeah. No. Well, I'm supposed to talk to him today about the menu.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I mean,
So
I
good.
talked to somebody the other day about it.
All right.
I mean,
good.
the owner said the party planner, who's always the guy, will talk to you about the details. But I'm asking you if you remember what we ate the last time.
It was something Italian. I want to say probably like for the vegetarians, an plant Parmesan. And
Really?
then, like,
Okay.
I
All
think,
right.
and then
Yeah.
whatever the.
But there was a cash bar there too, right?
Yes.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, there was a cash bar this last year too. I was out there.
It's the same space. It's the same room.
Same space. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
It's a big space.
Do you know how many people were there the first time? In your opinion?
50.
That's what I said. I said 50.
He put a ceiling of 50 on it, sold out in 1 minute, I think.
Right. Okay. I told him 50.
So,
But you think it could hold more than 50?
Oh yeah.
All right. I'm not putting a ceiling on it, bro. I just said 50, and if it goes higher, charge us.
No, I think he might have had as many as 200 when I was there.
Wow. Wow. Let's go for 200.
Hey, if people are coming, Jack White might be coming.
Jack, why don't you come?
Broke.
Bring all your super chats and come to Vegas. You're knocking yourself out here.
P.S. I'm saying that's what the establishment wants. I'm not saying that they'll be successful. There's a push, and they can't help but try to stab each other in the back. Basically, evenly expects evil from others. That's
When
the
he
old
says
left
establishment,
eats its own.
does he mean deep state?
Essentially, just whoever, the deep state tied people, military industrial complex. It's
How many
all
are
these
there of these people, in your humble opinion? Like, what numbers are we talking about? 1 million?
Oh, actual
Yeah.
players?
Yeah. How many people are in this deep state?
I mean,
Like,
there's
what are
deep
we
state-
up against?
There's deep state and there's deep state adjacent. So, I mean, in terms of people who are the actual player, tens of thousands, maybe.
Okay, that's fair.
But not millions, no. Because there's a lot of people who work for them or just, they show up, they do the job. And then when you get into actual influence, now you're probably in the hundreds.
Oh, really? Okay.
Who are really making things happen.
You know what's weird? I was thinking about Tulsi Gabbard yesterday, comparing her in my mind to Hillary Clinton and how different they were as women, as Americans, as politicians, as, the whole thing in my brain was just going, this is two radically different women.
Well, and that's where they separated.
Yeah.
That's where they separated too. It was during the 2016 and for Bernie, he keeps popping into this too. That'll be the disgusting thing. If Bernie won't vote for her, I'm sure, but she gave everything up to help him out.
Boy, that would be gutless. That would really be gutless.
I wouldn't put past him. I mean, this gutless.
He's such a gutless piece of shit. This Sanders,
Absolutely.
He really is. I mean, there's nobody lower than him.
Well, he's a communist. I mean, he falls into line.
Obviously, he's a communist, but he's not even. He doesn't even have the courage of his own convictions. Is what I mean. I don't mind you're a communist, but at least stick to your.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. He falls into line with his party.
Right.
Like any
good point. Good point.
Nick Giusti.
Look, Nick, I tried to tell him. He doesn't get it, Nick. The only ethnic thing he ever saw in Tucson, Arizona was a slice of pizza when he was 15.
There you go. Nick Giusti. What is the over under?
That's funny.
Jack White comments next
70,
week.
70 by next week is 70.
I don't know, but it's like
65, 70, I'd say, around in there.
And Diffuse 56, but hey, Jack, don't hit the road.
Is that his runaway tractor there? That guy was showing the runaway tractor?
I don't know.
Remember when what's his name, the congressman, got killed by his tractor at the end of the episode? The Ohio congressman.
Yeah, we covered him.
Right, Trafficante. Yes, his
Yeah.
tractor. Somebody put up a whole conspiracy theory that the tractor was turned over on him or was rigged to flip over. I mean, it was really complex. That Trafficante was killed by his own tractor in a murder incident, not an accident.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I know, right?
I have heard that. Let's see.
I mean, I wish he was alive today. He would really be having a good time, with this current political climate.
Oh, he'd be
full MAGA. He'd be full MAGA,
he and Matt Gaetz would be having, bourbon every day, probably. It is a shame he's gone.
It'd be great to have a bourbon with Gaetz show.
I agree. Jack White, the oppressed minority here in the West also includes the alphabet community. P.S. I don't generally send this many super chats, special occasion.
Look, I've known many people on the pipe, and meth is highly addictive. I understand. I know people who are in recovery from meth, and there's hope, Jack. There's hope.
There is hope. And Jack White again.
Yeah,
and
no,
I'm not
look.
the musician. I'm just using the screen name because it's one of the Joker's aliases in DC Comics.
George, I assure you. We get it. Yeah, right, White Stripe. Sure thing.
All right, Fletcher Boy said, waiting for you guys to do the borscht circuit.
There is no circuit anymore, but I'll tell you something. Borscht is an acquired taste. My grandmother used to make borscht, and it's odd. Borscht is a beet soup, but has an odd cousin named Scharft, and Scharft is the potato soup version of borscht, which is beet soup. And Scharft can be served cold, even with ice cubes in it, and borscht either way. But they're kind of cousins. They're kind of Eastern European cousins, food-wise. Scharft and borscht. Comment down below which one you preferred as a kid, Scharft or borscht, down below in the comment section after the show. Oh, and by the way, if the commercials are driving you crazy, Hunley recommends you go to Locals, and you could see a commercial free, which we should have told you before you shot yourself 15 minutes ago.
True. And we're going to be heading to Locals here very soon. Hubert Webb is a new member. Thank you.
That's Jack Webb's cousin.
Maybe.
Hubert Webb. He was related to Jack Webb.
Diffuse 56 says it's an antique I used as a farm boy.
It's miniature, or it's a full size tractor? It's not a toy antique.
No,
right?
it's a real tractor.
A full size boy toy. You know what I told someone the other day, which is true. I used to have, and I don't know if anybody else had this, the fire truck with pedals in it that you could pedal as a child and it's a fire truck, had ladders, had hoses that actually squirted water. It wasn't electric, it wasn't anything, but it was like, it had pedals inside of it that you could pedal the fire truck around. If anybody remembers that fire truck, please comment down below. I thought I was imagining this thing, and I haven't seen it since I was a kid. And it was a pedaling car. What would you call that? A cart, like a cart.
Yeah, I don't remember.
And you sat in it.
I think it's called pedal cars.
Right. But this one was a fire truck. Is the reason.
Right, I think it's just a generic term.
And it had little ladders, and it had a hose that you could actually put out a fire.
Oh, cool.
Anybody have that? And
the Rod said, I hope the Dodgers lose in the first round of the playoffs. Go Cardinals. Love the show.
Let me tell you something. The Cardinals have one of the greatest organizations in baseball. Total respect for the Cardinal organization. Always have.
All right. Pushkin 1986. Engelbert Humperdinck took the name from a 19th century German composer. He wrote the opera Hansel and Gretel. By the way, love you guys. Mark cracks me up.
Yeah, that's Pushkin's explanation. That's part of the urban myth on Humperdinck that he just plucked it out of a book. The Grateful Dead did the same thing out of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, as Pushkin knows very well, that Bob Weir or Phil Lesh just opened the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and what jumped out of that page it said Grateful Dead, by the way, which is in our episode on the Grateful Dead.
Jack White wants to know, I've never done drugs or drank alcohol. I always felt there's better stuff I could be spending money on, like good movies or TV shows and games,
good point.
Anime and manga.
I saw Conclave the other night. I don't know if anybody has seen Conclave. It's got Ray Fiennes in it. It's got Stanley Tucci in it, John Lithgow. And it's about the nomination of the next pope. It opens up with the death of the current pope, and the entire movie is set in the Vatican about their voting process called Conclave. And, they send up the puffs of smoke. They lobby internally for each other, and it's very, very interesting. The backstabbing that goes on. It's their version of aligning themselves like a game show. What's the one like Survivor, Eric, where you align yourself with other people so you don't get kicked off the island?
That's Survivor. I think
Well, Survivor. Okay, yeah. Well, they form these coalitions and vote repeatedly, as some people are aware. Anyway, it's called Conclave. It's been nominated for a bunch of Oscars. I don't want to give away the ending, but it's got a strange plot twist at the end. I can't. I don't. I can't give it away because of the controversial nature.
All right. Alan with a $50 Rumble rant said, Mark,
What?
Question.
Oh.
Mark,
What?
are there any good spooks?
Are there any good? Yeah, I'm again, let me see if I could be more clear on this. I think there are, but I can't discern who they are intellectually, so I try not to get involved with them. You know what I mean? I hope that makes sense to people. I can't afford to be put in a vulnerable position intellectually with them to have their bullshit laid on me, because I can't discern what's true or not true. So I try to steer away from all of them. For me personally.
All right. Ricada Law for president. Trump just got 6 hostages freed from Venezuela. Rumble rant.
I think that's why Grinnell went down there, was to get those hostages. The Hamas are letting the hostages loose into the crowds, and they're being beaten by the mobs as they're been released to the Red Cross now. Complete chaos at this point on the release by Hamas.
Great. Finboy Slick said a 7-nation army couldn't hold him down for mumble ranting.
Now that's funny. That's pretty funny.
All right. Richie Gioni. Hey guys, I listen to every time a source for truth. He's been a member.
That's the cat's talking. The guy is his pet. That's the cat talking.
Apparently.
Look, there's his cousin.
Outright mental defective said love Bush with a dollop of sour cream.
He's right. He's right. But what about Scharf? Nobody's hip to Scharf, bro. My grandmother was Hungarian, and she made both.
All right. Diffuse 56 said full size International Harvester Farm All Model H.
Oh, okay. So, but you could still use that, right?
Yeah.
Or is that
those old tractors?
So I see them
yeah.
around. I see them in rural areas. I'm not really hip, because you've got John Deere tractors, and then you've got Mengele farm equipment in southern Germany and Bavaria, which is the John Deere of southern Germany. Mengele, going back to the Angel of Death from the Third Reich. His family were the John Deere company, essentially, of Germany.
All right. I don't know if this is going to be true or not, but Jack White claims this is the last super chat.
He's full of shit. He does this every week. Why? Are you kidding me with this? The guy's he's going to Super Chat Anonymous SA just to deal with this because of his addiction to super chatting. And I feel bad for him. I think at some point you got to hit bottom, Jack, and just come to find a power greater than yourself, start working the steps, and stop the chatting. I mean, let's face it. We're all going to suffer, but you got to save yourself.
He's looking forward to an Invincible Season 3 and Reacher Season 3 airing February 6th and 20th.
Okay, so what's Invincible? That's not Stallone, is it?
I'm not.
Reacher, I know what that is.
Yeah, Reacher had a great Season 1.
Yeah.
Season 2 went to shit.
Okay. Yeah.
Hopefully pull it back out with Season 3.
I'm going to see the Dylan movie Sunday night, so I'll give a report on Tuesday about the Dylan movie. And then I'm going to try to see The Brutalist with a guy who may or may not win an Oscar for that. We'll see. Adrian Brody.
Outright mental defective. You guys ever heard of the Battle of Athens?
Athens, Georgia? Yeah.
And Fletcher Boy, Borscht. My grandparents were Austrian and
yeah.
Hungarian.
Okay. Fletcher knows. He knows. Yeah. I mean, but what about Scharf? Again, a lot of borscht. Everybody can have borscht, but the Borscht Belt, just so people know, is a series of hotels in the Western Catskill Mountain Cascade that were owned by the Jews because we were not allowed to be in hotels because we were Jews. So they opened up their own hotels. so we could have a place to go, and that included Grossinger's and the Nevele and a bunch of hotels up in the Western Catskills during the early 1900s.
The Pew says more farmalls were produced than any other tractor.
Is that the name of it?
Yeah, the farmall, I guess. Pat M said, "Keep it up, Eric and Mark. Love listening to your explanation of real things." That's $20. Thank you,
Pat M.
Pat M. Pat M's been around.
I don't remember that.
Jonathan G94, funny little tidbit about Carrie Underwood. Her husband, Mike Fisher, is a former hockey player and a Canuck who loves fishing like our friend Viva.
Mike Fisher, the original Mike Fisher, the hockey player? That's real. I didn't know that.
Yes. And
that's weird. It's weird how some people are married to other celebrities that you don't know about, in different fields. It's always odd, like a hockey star is married. But
they cross each other's paths, so it sort of makes sense.
Right.
I mean, who do they hang out with? Who's going to be at a party? Famous people, and famous for different things, but they're still famous people.
Well, it depends how famous they are.
All right. Well, last Rumble rant / super chat. I think the real Encryptus is talking about JFK me with the Rumble rant. JFK.
What does that mean?
Let me finish.
I'm sorry.
The AI-powered truth engine. History is waiting. Be part of it. Support the project now. And you can go to erichunley.com/JFK files. It is the AI that is being built that's scraping the entire JFK assassination archives.
Is that true?
Yes.
When you say scraping, what does that mean? Scraping?
It means pulling everything down. It goes
into what? What
What
happens then?
It's putting into a giant AI style database that can be searchable for different terms and quotes and things like that. It's a pretty ambitious thing, and I think has a ton of potential. Not everything will be immediately available because a lot of the documents you can't read that easily, and they'll have to be cleaned up. But everything is readable, scrapable, etc., will be in that database. And then when the new stuff gets released, it'll be a lot easier because you already have a baseline, comparatively speaking. But we'll continue this chat.
What chat?
Local.
Wait a sec. What happened to Jack White?
Jack's done. Jack had to go to bed.
Oh, this
Jack
is the
is
darkest
tired.
day of my life. Yeah, are you kidding me? Jack White, you're saying he's retired from, he announced that, right?
Yes, that was the last super chat of the night.
And he claims he's never done drugs or alcohol. Like, he's sticking with that story.
You know what? I'm going to believe and have faith in our top supporter of the day, Jack White.
I just have one final question for Jack White. How does he explain Joker 2, the musical? I mean, I'd like to hear if Jack White has an opinion on Joker 2, the musical, that is fresh and unusual. I'd love to hear that. This is separate from his super chat.
Just comment below.
Just comment below about Joker 2. I'm a little confused about Joker 2, the musical.
I think everyone's confused about Joker 2, the musical.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, we are going to continue this conversation in locals. There is a link in the chat. There's also a link in the chat for our sponsor. It really does help a lot to actually have a sponsor on an episode. We don't get them that often. Please consider getting coffee. There's links to the coffee down there. We've got coins available, JFK cards available. If you get
wow, Demorenschild, Ruby,
yep, Jack Ruby, Clay Shaw.
Look at that. He's got them all.
All kinds of cards, but you could support us for free. You could join our locals, be a member for free, watch us without commercials, and we're going to be heading there right now.
Okay.